Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and after a bit of a delay from last week, we're back here for round 5 of the eTeam BRIT GT Challenge, being hosted here at the home of the Clipsal 500, Adelaide. My name's Alex Goldschmidt, and I'm joined by a different commentator this evening. Greetings to someone who actually raced with Zansho Simsport 2 in the first season of the GT Challenge and finished P2 at Le Mans at round 4 last time out. Daniel Handover joins me. Good evening, Daniel. How are you?
Good evening, Alex. I'm very well, thank you. Looking forward to an evening's worth of racing with yourself. It's going to be fantastic.
Indeed, we're at the supercars variation of this circuit, 2.012 miles, 3.219 kilometres. And Dan, they've got a very stern test ahead of them tonight, haven't they?
They have indeed. I mean, I don't know if anyone who hasn't watched live V8 Supercars happening in Adelaide, I urge you to. It is the most amazing. Adelaide is such a good track. It's got a bit of everything. There's obviously wide parts, very narrow sections as well, a very open section. It's got a bit of everything, but it's such an iconic circuit, and it's just got something that everyone enjoys. I think everyone enjoys racing at this track, no matter what you drive and no matter how long you've been driving for.
Indeed. So again, another 60-minute race. So with that being said, let's see if we can actually have a look at the standings so far. First of all, let's head to the pro standings coming into this round. And as you can see, Matt Richards, the defending champion, the number 1 from Rocket eSports, leads the way by 7 points ahead of Joonas Raivio, with Jan van der Heyde, fresh from his journey to Formula E Accelerate for Nissan Edams last night, finishing P10 in the opening round of their championship. He's P3, having taken the win last time out. Sidor Vaya rounds out the top 4 ahead of Scotland's Martin Buchan. Christian Kelly, just a further 4 points adrift in 6th. Louis Stewart not here with us this week, but he will be back in action for next time out at Monza. Then you've got Haytham Abdul-Qadir, who has Jamal Gundur actually giving him all the very best of luck through our chat. Amy Roberts wishes Cammy Sturch from Team Fordzilla all the very best of luck. You can see that Dan Blake, Sean King and Scott Mitchell ran at the top 11. Let's have a look at the AM class, because that's looking even closer. Ben Brown from Camsport Fire leads the way on 76 points ahead of Cammy Sturch on 72. Ben's taken 2 wins this season. Cammy Sturch has taken 2 seconds and 2 thirds over the first 4 rounds, and maybe she might have a bit of luck here at Adelaide. Who knows? We'll find out a bit later on. Bradley Brockies from eTeam BRIT in 3rd, a further 3 points adrift, and then it's a further 17 back to his teammate Sandro Ballesteros. Chris Wilson and Stuart Ross French tied on 5th, equal effectively on 47 points, but Chris gets the nod on countback. Ben Hetherington, Max Spooner, Daniel Heyde, David Simon and Ed Straw round out the top 10. And then we head to the team standings. Last but by no means least, Rocket eSports leads the way by 34 points ahead of eTeam BRIT. Zansho Simsport hot on the heels, a further point behind, with Camsport Fire, the duo of Ben Brown and Christian Kelly rounding out the top 4. Team Fordzilla in 5th place ahead of Cadan Casual, Apex, Camsport Ice, Team Fordzilla 2, Kings Racing and Kings Dealer Racing. Your 10 teams here at Adelaide. Now, Dan, obviously you do a lot of sim racing. You also are very handy behind the microphone as well, which I'm really, really glad to have you with us here this evening instead of David Christie, who will be back in action next week. He said to me earlier on, I'm going to enjoy being a spectator for a change. But Adelaide, a real tough test in many respects, especially when you go through to the chicane. You've got Wakefield, then you've got the iconic right-hand kink at turn 8. It's really, really going to test the drivers this evening.
It is indeed. I think one of the things that I really I always go forward and I always really talk about it is having patience. That's one of the things. It's a 60-minute race. You know, Adelaide is it's an unforgiving track. It's a very unforgiving track. So having that patience, these drivers are absolutely going to need it if they want to do well and finish here. Because at the end of the day, one wrong move, as much as you have got fairly, quite open sections of this track, one more wrong move, Alex, then it's unfortunately game over. There's a pretty high chance anyway that it's going to be game over. But no, it's an amazing. I can't wait to commentate alongside you. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. And like I said, Adelaide always throws some good racing, and I'm sure this round will be no different.
So qualifying gets underway at 7:30 UK time, and the race will get underway just after 8 o'clock. But before we really get into the meat and potatoes here in our Australian doubleheader, second part that is, let's have a look at the highlights from round 4 at Mount Panorama. Now it's time to get things underway here in New South Wales in Australia. Round 4, eTeam BRIT GT Challenge, Season 2, about to get underway. It is Richards and Heyde on the front row. We are about to go green, and they are getting up to speed. It is lights out, they are off and racing, and already there was a bit of a clash into the wall for Cammy Sturch there, as they now make their way through into Heyde corner for the first time.
Been distracted by that. Heyde has taken the lead from Matt Richards and has got a lead of what's that, about 2 seconds over Matt Richards already.
And I've just seen another incident going through the dipper, and that involved Max Spooner, who just clashed with the ball, and he's just collected Alex Buncombe, I believe.
Who was completely unsighted there. Huge damage there for David Simon. David Taylor Pickett gets re-going again, and that was on the I think that was just turn 2, and you hate to see it.
Oh yeah, I've just had a look at the screen. Alex Buncombe went absolutely charging through up the inside of Joonas Raivio. The back end stepped out, and the number 36 invitational entry lost the back end, and that's what caused him to drop all the way down towards the back end of the field.
It very well might, just because it's poor awareness, it really is.
Moment for Richards.
Richards has a big moment, hits the back end off of the wall there, and he's just pushing too hard. This is exactly what I said pre-race. We know that Matt Richards is fast, but he just doesn't have the reliability. He seems to be his own worst enemy right now.
Big moment for Grant Lyman. That was off of the chase, and that has meant that Cammy Sturch
there's carnage! Absolute carnage! That was one of the
there's more dramas behind. There's more dramas behind. I counted 5 cars, and that was coming out of the second part of the chase. One of the cars is Alex Buncombe again. Buncombe's in the walls again, unfortunately.
But Ben Brown behind him. Ben's had a decent recovery to that terrible first lap. Oh, and Bobby Trundley, no! Bobby Trundley into the wall.
As we now are on board with Jenson Button, who's trying to close down on Cedar Via. This is going to be, you can just see the amount of correction, not just from the number 24, but also from the number 26. Definitely in the toe here. And he's pulling towards the right-hand side. Battle for the lead well and truly on Joonas Raivio up the inside of Jan van der Heyde. They were nearly side by side going through the apex there.
Contact!
No, Raivio in the wall.
Both of them were hit. That was Matt Richards just avoided Joonas Raivio. Joonas Raivio locked up the brakes, spun out, and almost clipped the back and took out Matt Richards.
And this is where all the drama happened. And Raivio, he's gone through really at a big rate of speed. The back end stepped out to the right hand side. I don't know how Matt Richards survived that one, but he got the slightest of side of Ben Brown, and I think got himself a bit caught out, and that car, and Aston Martin, is now going to go into the pit.
Craig here. I've just watched the most incredible battle between Ciro Bayer and Jenson Button. They've been side by side for 4 corners, and Ciro Bayer blocks up close into Hell's corner and hands it on a plate to Jenson Button. But I've got to be honest, this battle for the lead now is kicking off massively between Jan van der Heyde and Matt Richards right now, Alex.
1.2 seconds, and Richards looking. Don't try and go around the outside of Griffin's Bends, please, Matt Richards. You have, and he's going to get the inside. That didn't just happen, did it? That didn't just happen. I might have to do a double take on that one. He has got past him. Move of the evening, Matt Richards.
Outrageous, Alex.
Now we're going to see it from a different angle. Big thank you to Mike Yale from Simply Race. He just literally, he did not even drift. That car was in complete control. Right. Rio again, he nailed the slingshot. Is he going to stop it in time? He has done. Buchan towards the outside. They're side by side through the exit of the chase. A little bit of door panel banging there. Buchan could get the inside run into Murray's corner, but he slots in behind. Great driving from Seb Rio.
It's the race done. That's going to hand everything to Jan van der Heyde right now.
Well, I think in some respects, as Bradley Brockies has just had a moment, he's had a massive turnaround going through the cutting. Yes, it's going to be another different winner, 3 from 4. Jan van der Heyde takes the victory here at Mount Panorama ahead of new championship leader Matt Richards. Jenson Button will come round Murray's corner, our last minute invitational for this week. He takes the checkered flag and finishes in 4th position. So Louis Stewart crosses the line. Ben Brown takes the victory here for Camsport Fire at Mount Panorama. Well, that was a rather interesting round 4 there, Dan, and we could possibly see quite a few fireworks here at Adelaide, couldn't we?
Well, I mean, to be fair, we both know, and everyone knows who's watching here, Bathurst always throws up good racing. And yes, to be fair, I would 100% agree with you, Alex. Adelaide is going to be no different. There's going to be some hard racing here, which, to be fair, let's be honest, it's what we both want, isn't it? Very, very true. I mean, just sort of like looking at the track map itself, if you get a good run coming out of turn 8 down the Brabham straightaway through into Decaturville hairpin, that's one of the main sort of prime opportunities to try and get through. But then coming out of Hutt Street, going down Bartels Road, that's another place where you can really make up some time and really get a good slingshot. But apart from that, it's really going to be sort of effectively, we're going to see quite a few trains up and down the grid, aren't we?
Yeah, I think to be fair, as you were saying, those prime sort of overtaking opportunities. I mean, you've got the centre chicanes, turns 1, 2, and 3. I mean, realistically, that's just going to be follow the leader. I mean, to be fair, we may see someone, have a bit of a move up the inside, potentially going through into the first part of the chicane, going through turn 1. However, I feel that, again, the drivers are confident enough and sensible enough, I think, that that's probably going to be, unless a mistake is made by someone in front and a move presents itself and they have to sort of take it. I don't really think there's going to be that much in terms of move. But yeah, it's strategy as well. Like, going through turn 7, actually, before you get onto the main back straight, is it worth making an overtaking move there? Probably not, because there's a high chance down in turn 11 you're going to have that move again. So
it's very, very. I think strategy is going to play a big part in your overtaking opportunities here as well.
But then also you mentioned strategy, and I like to get onto this next bit. We've got a mandatory pit stop. So basically, they've got to serve at least a mandatory 30-second pit stop between the halfway point. So it's the second third bit. So once the timer hits 40 minutes on the clock to go, they've got until 20 minutes remaining on the timer to get that car in, get everything shipshape in Bristol fashion. And some drivers, you know, they'll look at maybe doing the massive overcut or maybe the massive undercut, as we've seen in previous races before. And with that kind of format, that's really going to keep us guessing right up until about the last sort of, I would say, 10 to 15 minutes, if that, on who are going to be the people that are going to be gunning for the front.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be fair, I know from when I did the last season, I always liked running, and this is general personal preference. Again, everyone's different. I always like trying to run as much fuel as possible at the start and just get as far as you can into the race. Okay, I don't know why, it just suits me, you know, personally in what it does. But yeah, as you say, Alex, we're not really going to know. It's what I love about these sort of races with those mandatory pit stops. Is we just don't know. We've always got that guessing until, like you said, the last 10, 15 minutes when everyone's pitted, and then all of a sudden we go, right, we know who's out on track, we know everyone is out on track, they've all done their pit stop, and it is just now a hard fight right to the finish line.
Well, good evening to good to hear from Cameron Fife. Thank you very much for the lovely comments there. It is going to be very, very busy for us here in the commentary box here at the home of the Clipsal 500, and also in years past the Australian Grand Prix. I mean, we've got 29 cars on the grid. That's going to equate to, if you give or take, around 500 brake horsepower or so per vehicle. That's 14,500 horsepower that's going to thunder into the centre chicane once we go green for 60 minutes at just after 8 o'clock this evening. But I think without further ado, let's give you an idea of just how tricky it's going to be here at Adelaide. Let's head to the hot lap. It's time for a hot lap here on board the Aston Martin here at Adelaide as we head through into Senna chicane, which then brings us on to the left-hand kink, leading on to Wakefield Road. A short blast up the gears, now up to fourth, braking down into first gear before the 90 right at Wakefield corner. A quick shift up to second through East Terrace into the next left-hander before we go through Flinders Street before the double right, which takes you through Hutt Street. There's the first one negotiated up to second. On the brakes back down to first before the exit now. Run the car a little bit to the left-hand side through Bartels Road, keeping as close to the wall on the left-hand side as you dare, as you're now going to go through into turn 8, pushing over 230 kilometres an hour through turn 8 at 5th gear. You lift off the throttle ever so slightly down the Brabham Straight, down to Decaturville hairpin. Into first gear, 65 kph, one of the slowest points on the circuit and one of multiple corners, at least 4 to 5, that are negotiated through first gear. Now it's the momentum carrying section through a quick succession of left and right hand kinks before the right hander before Foster's corner, braking from 175 in fourth down to 70 kph in first. Full lock, right hand down as we come across the line here at Adelaide. Right, we're straight into qualifying here at Adelaide for round 5 of the eTeam BRIT GT Challenge. Alex Goldschmidt and Dan Handover, your official commentators for tonight's proceedings, as we're now with Joonas Raivio, based out of Turku in Finland. He was leading coming up until Mount Panorama when he had dramas, and you can just see how much these drivers are going to be pushing tonight, Dan, because it's going to be far from easy at all, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I mean, look at how aggressive. Look how aggressive these guys are trying to warm their tyres up. I mean, you know, qualifying obviously massively important, especially at a track like this. You know, track position is absolutely key. See there, Joonas just backing it into, that's the hairpin just after the back straight. He's just backing it in, almost like steering it on the brakes, which is really, really cool to see. Yeah, like I said, track position is a lot of, I wouldn't say it's everything. Actually, I do take that statement back. I wouldn't say it's everything, but it is a lot to do with how you generally perform, and also a confidence thing as well. If you're on the front row going into, let's be honest, what is going to be a very, very tight hairpin, very tight chicane to start with, track position is going to be key, and it's just going to give you a massive confidence boost, I think, going into it.
Yeah, so for those wanting to find what is going to be, well, who is going to be where in qualifying, head to eteambrit.liveraces.com/live. That will take you directly to the information that myself and Dan Handover will be keeping our keen eyes on as we go on board with Sebastian Brio. Secured 5th place last time out at Mount Panorama, so both he and also the returning Jensen Button were both in the top 5. Alex Buncombe, I know for a fact, he will be coming back with an absolute vengeance, because in free practice earlier on he was top of the timesheets and he was running, Dan, in the 1 minute 16s, high 1 minute 16s, and everyone else was running in the 17s. But you know, there's drivers like the returning Andy Tucker in the number 68 McLaren. He was only a second off of Buncombe. As you can see, look how close they are going to the wall through turn 8. They are not lifting at all. They're absolutely going for it. And those brakes are absolutely glowing crimson red by any stretch of the imagination.
I know. I mean, there's no margin for error. There is absolutely no margin for error. I think that's as well. For people that I think, obviously, sim racing, you know, it is even in sort of sim racing, the margin of error, especially when you're racing with these level of drivers, is absolutely nil. One mistake at the best of times can cost you, let alone when you're racing with the competition that we've got in today's race. So key. As you see there, that was Sandro Ballesteros taking a lot of curb, as well as that is one of the Zansho Simsport cars behind. So again, track limits as well. You've got to understand where the track limits are. Essentially, as well, that's one thing, Alex, that these guys are going to be aware of and trying to use that as much as they can. Because essentially, if you can get a good amount of track, that's free track. That's free lap time, essentially, if you look at it like that.
Yeah, very true. Good to welcome along California's very own Nicky Heyde. He's been running quite recently in 2019, ran in the FFSA French F4 Championship, and then also came back to the US. He competed alongside the likes of Sweden's Linus Lindqvist, who's decided to follow in the footsteps of Felix Rosenqvist, who's currently in IndyCar, as Nicky Heyde has improved in both first and second sectors. And puts in a personal best of a 1 minute 18.185, puts the Californian P6, and just the amount of now the track limits. People are going to be wondering here, where are the track limits? Well, think of it this way: there was there was a decision made by race control and race directors do decide to give it to a public vote. So effectively, the yellow tram lines on the chicane are track limits, whereas the rest of the track there is a bit more free reign because of just the amount of condensed space that there is here at Adelaide. That was difficult. Trying to find the right word there, Dan. That was a bit sideways from Grant Lyman there coming through into the final section. But then you got drivers like Christian Kelly running in the 1:17.6s, but at the moment Matt Richards a 1:16.743. Now, we both know Matt Richards very, very well indeed. He's not exactly a slouch, is he?
No, he's not. I had the pleasure of racing. I've had the pleasure of racing with him a couple of times in the same team. Obviously, one of the ones being in the Zansho Simsport team actually in the very first season. So I remember vividly, and it's my claim to fame in eTeam BRIT. I got P2 at Le Mans, which I'm not going to talk about at all going forward. But yeah, it's he's really, really quick. He's found some pace, obviously, in the 116s as well. So we know that, obviously, Al Buncombe, obviously, he was absolutely on fire when it came to free practice. Matt has seemed to pull something out of the bag at the moment, and he is now 2/10 clear. Not a lot, admittedly, but again, at the same time, when you actually look at the level of these guys and how close they are normally, just over 2/10, as we see Alex Buncombe there, you can just see he's just gone into P3. That's very, very close indeed. And just and we got I've just seen on the time, it's Jenson Button in P4, only a 10th behind. So it's very, very close. So we've still got that's 23 minutes left.
Yeah, there's Stuart Ross French, our resident Australian. Actually lives over here in the UK, works for Land Rover. Good evening to Aidan Millwall. Good evening to Will Dendy, also who does get behind the wheel. Giving a shout out for the Zansho boys, not just him but Aidan as well. And Cameron Five saying I'll be supporting our good evening, Mr. Dendy. Hope you're keeping well, buddy. Been a long time. I think the last time I saw him was actually, funnily enough, at Simply Race, as we're on board with 2009 Formula One World Champion and 2018 Super GT GT500 champion Jenson Button, who now is going into Extreme E with his own team, JBXE Racing, I understand. So many teams getting in, and unlike Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton, Jenson is actually getting behind the wheel, which is really good. And you can see that even Jenson Button is coming, is they're feeling the pressure here in qualifying. And when I look at it from this perspective, the top 8 at the moment, Dan, make that the top 9, covered by 9/10. So Scott Mitchell and Martin Buchan have just gone P8 and P9 respectively.
I know, it's very close. We said that. Bobby Trunley, look at that, P7 for Bobby Trunley. He's just got on, so that's 6/10 off currently. I've actually just noticed as well that I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is that Jan van der Heyde that has gone in, he's currently in the lead. So I'm not entirely sure with where Matt Richards has gone. Obviously, the timing screens could be a little bit off at the moment, but I'm sure he'll be back in just a second, and that will resume. But so I mean, a second at Adelaide, no, it's not really a lot. They said it's a lot of follow the leader. So I don't necessarily think, in terms of, there could be, I'm sure there will be some trains that will pull out, and some 2 or 3 cars. There'll be some battles going on throughout the track. However, like I said, because a lot of it is very much follow the leader, turns 1, 2, 3, all that sort of stuff, I feel it is actually going to be relatively close throughout the field, and that's actually now extended to the top 12. So pretty much half the grid there, Alex, that is now separated by under a second.
Right, okay. Well, let's have a look through the top 12, as you just rightly mentioned there, Dan. Jan van der Heyde at the moment is showing on the timing screens with a 1 minute 17.003. 51 thousandths back, it's Alex Buncombe. Then it's Jenson Button, a further 10th back, ahead of the returning Andy Tucker in the 67. Joonas Raivio in 5th, ahead of Sebastian Priaulx. Bobby Trunley in P7, Christian Kelly in P8, ahead of Nicky Hayes, Jack Nicholls, Scott Mitchell and Martin Buchan. So there is still time to be found in this, and Joonas Raivio has just gone purple in Sector 1 here at Adelaide by just under a half a tenth.
I know, that's just going to put something. He's got to make sure he wasn't as quick in Sector 2, as you can see the bottom right corner of your screen. How is he going to be? That's definitely not what he wanted to do. So that was definitely not the line going through the last half, or the last couple of corners. So he has obviously decided that that was not for him, and he wants to go out again. Currently now, Jack Nicholls in, that is P11. So 8/10. It's amazing, isn't it? Because when you actually look at it, you think P11, so he's just outside the top 10. However, to be in the top 10, he would need to gain less than a tenth of a second to be P9.
Very true. And when I spoke with Jack on the previous show that we debuted on Facebook last night, he effectively said to me, he said, well, one of the reasons that myself, Scott Mitchell, Ed Straw, and Scott Mitchell's younger brother Luke decided to join, it was the allure of the tracks. Adelaide, then you've got Monza next week on the 5th of February, then you've got Imola, the penultimate round of the season, and then Le Mans. He just said it was great because it was just so different from everything else. And Jack and I had a really, really good conversation, and he started actually racing, like when it was like Grand Prix 2, Microsoft's Grand Prix 2 back in the day, using the keys on your keyboard, and then obviously things like the original R Factor came along, and then he started doing Formula Sim racing back in 2008, and that's how things sort of started from there. And I said to him, well, it's been pretty much full circle. He said, yeah, you're pretty much right about that. And so, and Will Dendy, you are, no, Ed and Scott are from the race. So I'm wondering, as Daniel Heyde goes spinning towards the entrance into the pit lane, there is Ed Straw. So they're actually from the race. Will Dendy also says, strange to not see Joonas in the number in P1. Bunkum is flying. Well, Matt Richards' time has gone back to the top of the timesheets, and it is 1 minute 16.743. So yeah, it was that, and Matt Richards' comment is exactly right there. And the banter's now started between Will Dendy and Matt Richards on the YouTube chat. So Matt, you need to concentrate on driving at the moment, I'm afraid. As Ben Brown goes hurling his way through turn 8. Just the amount of commitment. And if you get it wrong at turn 8, we've seen it in supercars, Dan. If you get it wrong at turn 8, that car is definitely going to be feeling rather second-hand.
100%. It is just, get it slightly wrong, it's wall race over. That's pretty much how it's going to be, and how it's going to be going. As we have, drivers know all too well. I know that from personal experience when sim racing around these tracks. It's not the best feeling in the world, but you do have to sort of, like I said, it's one of those ones you can't necessarily go through it. I've always found with that sort of infamous right-hander, again, you see JB Jensen Button going through, absolutely flying through there again. You have to go in either, well, to be fair, I'm going to rephrase the question. I'm going to rephrase my statement there. You have to go in at 100%. You cannot go in at 90%. If you go in at 90% or go in slightly off pace, you'll crash. That genuinely is what I found anyway. I don't know if other people feel the same thing, but it's such a commitment. You have to commit so early to the corner. If there's any hesitation, then as we have seen, and as you said, Alex, it is pretty much you're going to be driving around in a car that's very second-hand, I think, as you put it.
Yeah, so we're about 2.5 minutes away from the halfway point in this half-hour qualification session. And there is the man himself, Jensen Button, coming through into the right-hander. That would have been through Wakefield Corner, and then it's literally a specific, so effectively through Wakefield, that's a 90 right, up East Terrace, take the left into Flinders Street, another 90 left, and then a double 90 right going on to Bartels Road through Hutt Street. And now as Button gets around the outside, that's Haytham Abdul Kader there, and the number 99 Aston Martin from Simsa eSports. And full commitment there from, and Button's gone up. He's currently P3, but Andy Tucker trying to chase him down at the moment, and Tucker has put in a blinding 1 minute 17.3008, and Joonas Raivio is 29 thousandths behind him, and there's Bobby Trundy on your screens right now.
I know, it's getting even closer, isn't it? It's all starting to come together. Although I say that, the top 12 now separated by just over a second. I say that, it's marginal differences, but the same differences nevertheless. As we've got David Simonson for Team Fordzilla 2 in the... do you know what? It's just a world apart, the Radical, isn't it? It's just an absolute... It almost looks like it belongs in a different series in a way, because it just doesn't look obviously like your standard GT3 cars you've seen, obviously the Astons, the McLarens and stuff, because it's just such a unique looking car. I really like it though. It's grown on me a lot. The more and more I've watched the previous rounds, I've really sort of got I quite like it. It's different, which is I like. It's a very you haven't actually driven the car yet, so it'll be interesting to see what it's like to or hear what the drivers think it's like to drive. As we've got that is Sebastian Prier with a 1:17.1, and look at that, John Van der Heyde, he has now gone into P2. Still though, 2/10 off of, and I mean the gap is still 2/10 off Matt. So I know Matt, you were saying Matt was needs to be concentrating on the race. At the moment, does he? Well, he's got 15 minutes left, and he's still pole position by just under 3/10.
Yeah, I think Will Dendy's trying to blow your admiration of looking to test the Radical, because you just said it's awful. But the thing is, Team Fordzilla crews have done an admirable job. Andy Tucker's up by nearly a tenth in sector 1, and he sets the personal best in sector 2. That was a 1 minute 17.368, so 60 thousandths off of his best effort so far, and so he's put it into the pits. Martin Buchan, who was our Cinetic BMW Series champion from season 1, he is currently in 9th place. Leading the AM class in terms of qualifying is the number 22 of Ben Brown from Camsport Fire. He's currently down in P14 with Luke Mitchell and Stuart Ross French rounding out the top 16 positions, but those 3 drivers rounding out the top 3 in the AM class. For those wondering about the points, here at the eTeam BRIT GT Challenge, it's 25 in each of the classes for a victory, 20 for second, 16 for third, 13th for fourth, 11th for 15th for fifth, and then from 6th to 15th it's all the way down from 10 to 1. And the invitational drivers do not score points. They're here to have a laugh, they're here to competitively race, and as Jensen Button, Alex Buncombe and Sebastian Priaulx have found, it's not been quite easy because there are different skills. Obviously we've got 2 different classes, but now Nicky Heyde will get a taste of what is still to come for the 60-minute race. Yellow in sector 1 as Martin Buchan comes round Foster's Corner, final turn here at Adelaide. And if anyone might remember when Jerry Rogers Motorsport had a young Kiwi by the name of Scott McLaughlin get one up on Jamie Whincup, as Luke Mitchell trying to push the number 77 Kings Dealer Racing 650S McLaren to its absolute limit. And he's still, I think, in many respects here, just looking at what the difference is between him and Ben Brown. Luke Mitchell needs to find a 10th of a second to get himself, and Bobby Trundley, in the meantime, has gone up into P7, and that was with a 1 minute 17.220, and he's just put teammate Andy Tucker behind him on the grid provisionally by just 88 thousandths of a second.
I know, that's very, very close indeed, isn't it? Good lap there from Bobby Trundley. But yeah, like you said, just under half a second off. So it's getting ever closer. It's really starting to get close. We've got 12 minutes left. I don't know. I think these guys are exploring the absolute limits. Obviously, Tracky is going to start to get rubbered in more. So we're potentially going to see the last sort of 5 minutes, everyone make a mad dash to try and get out and set the fastest lap times that they can. Yeah, at the moment, we've still got Matt Richards. I have seen, though, Joonas Raivio, and he has gone. Well, he's now in P2. He's only a 10th behind, literally 0.101. As we see Grant Lyman there, he's taken an interesting line going through the last corner. Yeah, it's a 10th of a second now separates P1 and P2, and from then on, again, it's so close. We've got less than half a tenth between P3 and P4. We've got just under a tenth between P4 and P5. And honestly, if this is what how exciting qualifying is, let's be honest, with all the times that we've got, I mean, we've got 60 minutes of this. I can't wait.
Yeah, so at the moment, with 11 and a half minutes still to go, Richards on provisional pole with a 1:16.743. Joonas Raivio on a 1 minute 16.844. The 2 Rocket eSports drivers that are leading the team standings, as also the pro standings in the driver's side of things, are ahead of Jan van der Heyde, Alex Buncombe, Sebastian Priaulx, Jensen Button, Bobby Trundley, Scott Mitchell now in 8th, ahead of Andy Tucker, Christian Kelly, Sidor Vaya down in 11th. That's not where I would normally customarily see Sidor, but he's got some affordability in the next 10 and a bit minutes still to go, and he's ahead of Martin Buck and Nicky Heyde in 13th, ahead of Jack Nichols. Bradley Brockies now is in provisional pole position by 18 thousandths of a second. The 105 from eTeam BRIT now in 15th place on provisional pole in AM. Then it's then it's Ben Brown, Haytham Abdul-Qadir, Stuart Ross French, Cammy Sturch, Grant Lyman, Sandro Ballesteros, Sean King, David Simon, Max Spooner, Daniel Hyde, Chris Wilson, Dan Blake and Ed Straw, and every single one of the 28 drivers have secured a lap time, and the entire field, Dan, covered by 3.8 seconds.
I know, it's so. I'm actually looking at the gaps to the drivers as we currently see there, Matt Richards on board. On board. I keep saying on board. I keep doing this. On your screen at the moment. Currently, like I said, your pole man hasn't got actually no personal best in Sector 1, although they could very well be on an outlap. But yeah, I'm just looking at the actual gaps to the obviously the different teams. So like for example, I'm just having a look here. So I believe that is P11 and P12. The gap is 3 thousandths of a second. So these gaps are incredibly small. I'm looking through as well, and the amount of gaps I'm seeing, the amount of the times difference between, positions, it's not in the tenths, it's in the hundreds, and that is the most common number that I'm seeing. Numbers in the hundreds, not in the tenths. So one good lap from someone, and that's potentially 2, 3, even 4 places in some scenarios. So we've only got 9 minutes left, but wow, I mean, a lot is going to change, I'm sure. Well, potentially in these last 9 minutes as the track starts to rubber in and as everyone gets out for their final sort of few runs.
Yep, very much the case. So Martin Buchan comes across the line, still remains P12. There's Jan van der Heyde. German coming through into turn 8, absolutely nails it. And look, up by 11 thousandths, goes purple in sector 2. But Jan van der Heyde still doing his utmost. He will have the run of confidence coming into this round, having taken the victory at Bathurst just I think it was 3 weeks ago now. I have to remember about the fact that we had an issue, obviously, due to a major update for R Factor 2, and that caused a problem, so we weren't able to get people available. Well, people weren't able to race, let's put it that way. So now we're going to get a real test as Bradley Brockies has a bit of a moment. Van der Heyde, 1 minute. He makes it 3 drivers now, I think, into the top. The top 3 now sub 1 minute 17, I think, by the merest of fractions. But I'm not too sure if that time might have been no, it wasn't. 1 minute 16.968, and he's done a personal best in sector 1. So Jan van der Heyde looking to get a bit closer to the top 2 at the moment. And when you look at it this way, Dan, they're covered by 0.225 seconds as we head into the last 7.5 minutes of the session.
I know, yes. Look at the gap between. You actually look at the gap between Jan van der Heyde and Joonas Raivio. It's 200ths. So another half a tenth, and potentially, obviously, Jan van der Heyde, he will get P2. So again, these. You look at obviously P3 and P2. Obviously, it's still a position down. But at the same time, that does not mean to say that the margins are so close. The margins are so close. It's absolutely incredible to see. I can't remember the last time, if I'm honest, Alex, or in my whole year's worth of, or year and a half's worth of commentating, I don't think I've seen a race as close as this. This is definitely, or qualifying, sorry, as close as this. This is definitely a benchmark for me at the moment. Let's say we've still got 6 minutes left, or just under 7 minutes left, so it could get even closer. And again, as we see, Joonas Raivio, he is green. He hasn't put a purple sector in for sector 1. Very, very close to the wall on the inside there. Again, the commitment that you can see, he is down on sector 2, though, as you can see in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Again, a lot of these drivers I'm seeing pitching the car in almost with the rear. They're steering it on the brake. You saw it again there. As they're getting onto the brakes, they're allowing the car to rotate round a little bit to try and bring the car actually in a position where they can get on the power and try and straight on the corner as much as they can. A little bit of a wiggle there going through into the last corner, but at the moment, I don't think this is going to be a... No, he hasn't. He's backed out, but look at the... I can't get over how close this is, Alex. It's just insane. It's absolutely insane. And we've got here, I believe as well, unfortunately we've lost Alex, so hopefully we're going to get him back in just a second. But Jan van der Heyde, he stays P3, so he backed out of that lap as well. You're going to see what they're going to do straight away. These guys are going out straight away, so they've got 5 minutes and 30 seconds left. They are going to want to jump in their cars as quickly as possible. That's why if they know they're not going to get a good time on the board, they're going to quit, jump in the car and get some fresh tyres on, and off they go. Alex Buncombe currently in P4. He's got a purple vest in the second sector. He doesn't improve on his time, no. So he stays in P4. We've also got... that was a bit of a crash there. We just came off of that, so not too sure what happened there. A bit of... okay, that's gone from bad to worse. I think we're going to swiftly move on from that. as we got going back to that is Sido Weija currently in P11. I know we were saying that potentially a little bit more from Sido, but he's still got, I said, just under 5 minutes left. Sido, sorry, apologies. I'm not good with name pronunciation. I do apologise for that. I've just been told as well, the Sido Via. So there we go. We're learning. We're learning. As we now go on to Jensen Button. We've got Jensen Button in P6 currently as well. Obviously, sectors 1 and sector 2. He is currently no personal bests or purple sectors. So is he going to go? It looks to be going quite slow. I think he may have been pulling a gap to the car in front. So he is going to. Excuse me, he's going to be starting his lap. As we see that was Bradley Brockey's getting out the way of, that was one of the Camsport fire cars. That could very well have been Ben Brown, if I am not mistaken. But yeah, so currently sitting in P16 for the eTeam BRIT McLaren 720. I do have a soft spot for the 720S. It's an amazing looking car. Really, really good stuff. And again, I know I keep saying, I say it on every single broadcast. Some of the liveries we've got here, the liveries are absolutely amazing. I really, really love the concept that a lot of people run with liveries. It's really, really good to see. But going through it again, the Infamous, that was not as close to the wall actually as I was thinking. We have seen for some of the drivers, but again, you know, there's always got to be a little bit of margin, I suppose, just in case anything does go really wrong. But at the moment, I'm just having a look again. Unfortunately, we still haven't got Alex for the closing stages. Hopefully, we're going to have him back in a few moments' time. Yeah, closing stages of qualifying, and if I'm honest, not really much movement happening on the timing sheets. If there are movements, they're only with personal best as opposed to actual movements and positions. But at the moment, we have Matt Richards still leading, just over 10th to Joonas Raivio, and then we've got Jan van der Heyde rounding out P3. I said 200ths of a second behind. It's so close. Then we have another just under 2 tenths behind that, Alex Buncombe in P4, Sebastian Prio in P5, Jensen Button P6, Tucker P7, Trundley 8th, Scott Mitchell P9, and Martin Buchan in P10. I have just been told as well, Alex, I do believe you have returned for the closing stages of qualifying.
I have indeed. Apologies for that. Not too sure what happened, but for some reason my computer decided to switch itself off during the broadcast, so my sincerest apologies. But thank you very much for filling there for us. These things do happen, the wonders of modern technology, but yeah, on board with Bobby Trundley, and yeah, it has been rather interesting, all truth be told, and I've been keeping my eyes on the timing screens. I still can't believe that van der Heyde has actually gotten closer, as I think someone's just had a bit of an altercation with one of the barriers going through one of the right-handers going through Hutt Street, so that's been rather interesting. But yeah, I can't wait to see who ends up on pole position. But yeah, to see the top 14 covered by just under a second at this late stage is absolutely mind-blowing, and we're not done yet.
No, exactly. Still a minute and 40 seconds left. We've got Nicky Hayes going a little bit sideways. I think a bit too much sideways. So he's gone. But look at that. Jensen Button. He has now gone into P5. So he is now sitting in the top 5, 700ths behind Alex Buncombe. So that is going to be a very close battle, I'm sure, when it comes to the race. Jan van der Heyde, he is going to go through. He will have one more lap. He's still currently P3, so this will be his last lap. Look at the timing standings. Actually, no, tell a lie. He may very well get another lap in. Depends on how much fuel he's got and what times he does. Bobby Trundley currently in P8. A very, very good drive indeed. I wonder if he's going to go on. That looked to be, you see how wide a line he was taking, trying to straight line the corner off as much as he can to pick up as much speed as he can going through. It's not a big run going through to the first braking zone in the chicane, but that was, I mean, probably about as much curve as you can realistically take before you have any track limit warnings. Luke Mitchell, currently in the 650S, a little bit wide going through. Could have potentially sort of missed his braking marker there, just a fraction. You're going so fast, though, it's very, very hard to get the brakes stopped and to get the car stopped, even if you miss your braking point by, even a car length. It's amazing how much of an effect it does have. But I mean, we've drivers now, Alex, have only got one more lap, so it's now or never.
Yeah, it's put up or shut up and just push into the absolute limits of the region.
I like that.
Now Luke Mitchell will get across the line with about 15 seconds left on the clock. He's currently P18 overall at the moment, as the drivers now really have to hustle And there will be some drivers that will be kicking themselves because they haven't gotten across the line in time. We have seen it before in other forms of motorsport where qualifying has really, really not helped anybody out. But with the entire field, all 29 of them separated, checkered out for the session here at Adelaide for round 5 of the eTeam BRIT GT Challenge. And Bobby Trundley up by 3/4 of a tenth in the first sector. He's up 2/10 in sector 2, and he stays P8, but I think that was an improvement on his time by the merest of fractions. David Simon from Team Fordzilla 2 rounding out the top 23 at the moment, as he will be on his last flying lap. He's up by over a tenth in sector 1. Christian Kelly in 11th position in the number 14 Mercedes now will hurtle his way out of Foster's corner and across the line. Does he improve? I don't think he did. David Simon will be one of the last. Well, he does improve. He puts in a 1 minute 17.415 that puts him on the outside of road, on the last position of the top 10. Luke Mitchell trying to make some effort to try and get up from 18th position and makes up nearly 6/10 in sector 3. Ed Straw from King's Dealer Racing now comes across the line and puts in a 1:20.573. Max Spooner, does he improve? A 1 minute 20.877, so not an improvement for him. His best effort was a 1 minute 19.319. But then to see that Matt Richards, Joonas Raivio and Jan van der Heyde covered by, 0.123 seconds after a dynamite 30-minute qualifying session. Good to see that Alex Buncombe up into P4, so he'll be alongside van der Heyde on row 2. Button and Prio will be on row 3 ahead of the Team BRIT duo of Andy Tucker and Bobby Trundley in the 67 and the 68 respectively. Scott Mitchell will look to hopefully get another top 10 finish this time around. He's finished P6 in Pro last time out, and he'll have Christian Kelly alongside. Martin Buchan has California's Nicky Hayes alongside for close company on row 6. Then it's Sidovaya, very much out of position there, but might have struggled a little bit, and he was just over a tenth quicker than Jack Nichols, who rounds out row 4. Ben Brown and Bradley Brockies row 8, and then it's Cammy Search and Luke Mitchell rounding out the top 4 in AM, but the top 18 overall, with Haytham Abdul-Qadir and David Simon rounding out the top 19 positions there. Stuart Ross French will start in 20th on the last position of the top 10 rows ahead of Grant Lyman, Sandro Ballesteros, Sean King, Max Spooner, Daniel Hyde, Chris Wilson, Ed Straw, Dan Blake in the 26th and 27th respectively. So effectively we have got 29 cars on the grid here, Dan, and momentarily, it's going to be a case of just sort of seeing what's going to happen in the race. I'm expecting absolute fireworks, and someone's going to be pulling the pins on the grenades and throwing them just behind to their 6 behind them, as if to see what might happen behind, so they can get a bit of a clean getaway.
Well, to be fair, I don't think grenades need to be thrown. That's going to happen probably on its own accord. I was actually looking through the timings, and I kid you not, Sebastian Prio and Jenson Button, the gap between those, 1/1000th of a second. Andy Tucker and Bobby Trundley, the gap between those two, 1/1000th of a second. Honestly, it is that. I don't think I've ever seen. I've seen that once in a qualifying. I've never seen it twice. That's a first for me. And again, it goes to show the margins. The margin for error is absolutely nil. Like, I thought it was low before. It's nothing now. There is no margin for error. And also as well, these guys, it's just, I can't get over how close it's going to be. And we've got 60 minutes. I don't know what race pace is going to be like. That's the interesting thing. The qualifying pace is one thing. The race pace are completely different. This is where the strategy does come into it, indeed, as we spoke about earlier, Alex. But, well, not long until we find out what actually does happen.
Yeah, 60 minutes of racing. A mandatory pit stop window is in effect. And if the driver that does not have... Martin Buchan's wanting his 80s rock music... partner we're getting tonight. Well, we are on the final countdown, Mr. Buchan. Sorry, I just had to throw that one in. It just deserved the only appropriate song title that needed to be said round about now. And for those that are of my age group that know what I'm talking about, of course you do. I think it's probably roundabout fitting. But this is the second part of our Australian double header. We were at Mount Panorama in New South Wales. We're now in southern Wales, South Australia here at the Clipsal 500 home, the home of also previously the Australian Grand Prix. Cannot really wait. The drivers are in a warm-up, but I think now this is where the drivers can really sort of start to get themselves stilled up, ready to go racing. 29 cars. Everyone's going to sort of like be feeling apprehensive, nervous. I think there could be some virtual new Nomexes required for some of the drivers going through lap 1 for the first time, depending on what we see on our screens and what you see on your screens at home. It's just going to be really interesting. And I think, as you well put on Twitter, Dan, it's going to be mad.
Oh yeah, it's just it is, isn't it? Let's be honest. I love that. Look at that camera shot. Bit of lens flare. I do love a good lens flare. It's like very Star Trek. Love it. Yeah, it's sorry. That's literally. Yeah, it's going to be. As I said in that tweet, it's just going to be. Well, to be fair, I put that out. I actually wrote that before qualifying actually started, ready to post it, obviously for the race. I mean, it couldn't be any more intense when the race gets underway if it tried. But yeah, this is where tensions start building up now. Tensions start building. People start getting nervous. I mean, I can imagine, obviously, people are nervous anyway. Mm-hmm. But this is where they really start to build up. And it's how you manage it is the key. How you manage, I think Matt Richards, obviously one person that is under immense pressure, because we do know he is very capable. We do know that, obviously. But at the same time, though, still an enormous amount of pressure. He's got quick drivers behind him. And like I said, that margin for error, as I said before, is pretty much nil. So, yeah, I would say that the man, Matt is currently the man who is under the most pressure at the moment. So it's how he composes himself and how he pushes through. He's been in this situation before. He does know what he's doing, but it's always something to consider. Like I said, there could be something that, it's being confident as well as being comfortable. It doesn't matter if you're, one of the stages as well is being quick, but at the same time, you've got to make sure you're comfortable with that pace as well.
Well, I'm going to add a different letter, a different word beginning with the letter M. Instead of it being mad, I think it's going to be absolutely mental tonight. That's all I've got to say on that one. Looks like the warm-up is complete. And also, the good thing is here that we're going to have effectively a very dry track, 22 degrees Celsius. But also, the drivers are going to have to be on their best behaviour because our race directors, the pair of them, will be looking at proceedings. Obviously, they will be looking a bit more at the centre chicane, turns 1 and 2. That's where it's going to be really interesting. I mean, obviously, like say Hockenheim on the first lap in the DTM, the stewards will probably the race directors will maybe give them a little bit of leeway, but then after lap 1, it's game on. It's sort of like, if you do an increasing amount of track cuts at that chicane to get that little bit of advantage, if you go all 4 wheels off onto the red and white curbing, you're going to fall foul of the race directors, and that can really compromise anyone's race.
Oh, 100%. Like I said, this is part of the strategy as well. That's what builds into it. I say strategy. It's conservation. You've got to make sure it's, like I said, it's all good being quick over that one lap. You've got to make sure that you're consistent over it as well. Off tracks as well. Yes, like cut. Track warning, track limit warnings. They're all going to add up, and that could very easily, as I know again from personal experience, whether I care to mention it or not, you do have to always consider, and it can ruin your race very quickly, and that's something that every driver has to worry about. Not just the people, not just the guys at the front. Every driver in this race has to worry about track limits, because your race can go from being very good to not so good in a split second potentially.
Right, we're getting the formation lap here for the Adelaide Street Circuit, round 5 of season 2 of the eTeam BRIT GT Challenge, and your lineup is as follows. Matt Richards will start from pole position alongside his nearest championship rival, Finland's Joonas Raivio. So that's the numbers 1 and 69. Jan van der Heyde from Zansho Simsport and Alex Buncombe from Rocket eSports in the 96 and 36 respectively start on row 2, ahead of Jensen Button and Sebastian Priaulx. Andy Tucker and Bobby Trundley round out row 4, with Scott Mitchell and Christian Kelly completing the top 10. Martin Buchan and Jack Nichols round out row 6 ahead of Sidovaya and Ben Brown, with Brown taking pole in AM this time around here at Adelaide. Bradley Brockies and Cammy Sturch round out the top eight rows. Sorry, Luke Mitchell rounds out the top 8 rows, not Cammy Sturch. She's down in 17th ahead of David Simon, Haytham Abdelkader, Stuart Ross French. Then you've also got Sandro Ballesteros. Then we've also got Grant Lyman, Sean King, Max Spooner, Daniel Heyde, Chris Wilson, Ed Straw, Dan Blake. I'm not seeing Nicky Hayes on the grid. He's showing as a DNF. I'm not too sure if he's had a disconnect, unfortunately. However, drivers now heading towards turn 8. So one of the big things that they're going to have to do here, Dan, is to warm up the brakes and tyres. Make sure that, as Tom Christensen once said, you need your weapons to be razor sharp.
You do indeed. There's no, it's very, very difficult. Having to warm the tyres. You can see again the guys absolutely furiously warming their tyres up. Yeah, you do have to be really confident in your car as well. Like lap 1, again, you've got to have that 100% confidence that the car is going to do what you are asking it to do. So you're almost one with the car, as it were. So tyre warming, temperature warming. What you'll find as well, some drivers might start riding the brake as well to get some more residual heat into the rim, and then obviously transfers to the tyre as well. But I mean, to be fair, well, we're going to be finding out in about 10 seconds, aren't we, Alex? This is it.
So Richards and Raivio controlling the pace. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to go racing here for the second half of the season. Round the final corner they come. Are we ready? Are we steady? Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to go green, green, green here at Adelaide as they absolutely hurtle their way. And some drivers getting a really good launch, others being left in the doldrums through into the chicane. Who's going to make it out nice and safely? We're not too sure at the moment, but in the picture-in-picture, you've got the 99 of Haytham Abdelkader coming under fire from the likes of Stuart Ross French and Sandro Ballesteros is up at the front of the field. Richards trying to break away. Van der Heyde has already got past Raivio, and Raivio's got pressure from behind, and that's from Buncombe and Button at the minute, as everyone's just getting a bit really, really problematic through those first bits of curving that you can now see as they head towards turn 8. And this is where it's going to get rather spicy. Raivio being pressurised yet again. And how close were they to the wall? My Godfather style drifting through turn 8. I think the defibrillators need to be on standby for everyone at home tonight, Dan.
Well, I think, to be fair, the defibrillators need to be on standby for us as well. Let's be honest, this is going to be, I can imagine it's going to be something like this going forward as well. But at the moment, looking at if you look at the top 3, obviously Richards has pulled away at the moment. It's not too much, but you've got a little bit of some gaps sort of forming as well. It looks to be their top 3, I'd say probably the top 4, top 5 are sort of spread out already, which I'm quite surprised about, obviously going through. It's only lap 1. Yeah, these guys are absolutely flying, and Matt Richards has capitalised on it. He did, I think he is pulling away just a little bit more, looking at the current gaps as well from John van der Heyde. So yeah, he's probably, whether he's controlling the pace or not, I doubt it. I'm pretty sure he is still driving and still having to drive absolutely flat out because he knows that he has got John not far behind. Look at how, I've always found as well that when you jump over these curves, you have a little bit of a 50-50. There's obviously a certain way to take them. You do have a bit of a 50-50 chance if you, if the car can get a bit upset, which we did see a couple of times in qualifying. Currently, picture-in-picture. So in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, we just had David. That was David Simon there for the Team Fordzilla GT3 Radical. Yeah, look at the gap now. We've got potentially as well. That is John van der Heyde being pressured, or actually, no, I say that potentially being pressured. By that is Joonas Raivio, and I got it right then. Pronunciation. There we go. Key.
Well, the biggest development I've seen here, Alex Buncombe, they say that lightning does sometimes strike twice. It struck thrice for Alex because he's now currently down in P14. Matt Richards puts in the fastest lap of 1 minute 17.763 as we're now on lap number 4. A very, very tight and technical circuit at the moment. So the top 5 at the moment in the respective classes. Richards leads by 1.2 seconds ahead of Jan van der Heyde, ahead of Joonas Raivio. Jensen Button and Sebastian Priya ran at the top 5 overall. But Andy Tucker and Bobby Trundley, 6th and 7th at the minute, and the two McLarens, the numbers 67 and 68 respectively, Leading AM at the moment, it is Ben Brown. Then we've got Bradley Brocky's great work by David Simon. He's ahead of the leading Team Ford Zilla driver in AM. That's Cami Sturch. She's currently in P4 but P17 overall. And then you've got Jack Nichols right behind her, and then Haytham Abdul-Qadir just behind Nichols. So Nichols is literally the proverbial meat in the sandwich there between a Radical and an Aston Martin. As now Nichols was looking up the inside, and has he got the move done? I don't think, no, he hasn't. But then Abdul-Qadir tries to close up, going through what was turn 8 down into the Ketterville hairpin. You can just see now how really tricky this circuit is. It is a case of what you said earlier, Dan. Follow the leader. Oh, massive incident! Oh, massive incident! That is one of the Team BRIT cars that's had its rear wing taken out, and I've got a feeling that could have been possibly Christian Kelly that was involved in there too, and it caused absolute pandemonium right behind. So one of the Team BRIT cars now in the pits. So I'm not too sure who that might have been. It could have been either Bobby Trundle or Andy Tucker. We'll just wait to see as that McLaren hobbled its way into the pits, and that was Andy Tucker well, I'm not too sure. If we can get a replay of that, it'd be quite interesting to see from our broadcast director Mike Yao what exactly happened there, because literally it sent everyone everywhere, didn't it?
Well, it did. I mean, to be fair, the guys behind you had drivers behind you had a 50-50 chance, really. In that sort of situation, I was always told from someone who, whoa, that was a big sideways moment from that. That was by Sebastian Priaulx, and that has unfortunately put him in the clutches of. I'm just looking through who that currently is. Was that Alex Buncombe? I think Alex Buncombe. Yes, so he's capitalised on that move absolutely 100% when he needed to. He just saw that Sebastian Priaulx having a big moment going through one of the files. We actually got a replay here. So we've just got a fairly long replay here, but yeah, this is I believe obviously the instant. I believe we're currently on board. Oh dear, that has just gone from bad to worse for that one in a split second. That did.
That was Andy Tucker going through turn 8. The back end stepped out, and he was a passenger. And you're going to see, so that's Scott Mitchell going past, and then there's one of the cars just behind. That would have been possibly more than likely Alex Buncombe, I believe, and Andy Tucker hits the wall again, and then clips the barriers. And and that was one of the, I think that was one of the King's Dealer Racing cars there that got caught up, and that was possibly Luke Mitchell, I believe. So a lot of let's just say that was we were waiting to see if something was going to happen at turn 8. And one of the things is, when you're going through this corner, if you're keeping the throttle pinned, Dan, and you turn that car in, the first thing you're going to get is an aero imbalance.
100%. You've got, especially while the weight transfer of the car, like that's a big shift in weight. You've got all of the weight going from a neutral position to then being thrown over to the other side of the car. That absolutely, not only are you going to have, like you said, an aero imbalance, you're going to have a weight imbalance as well. It's really going to shift over, as we saw with Seb, who managed to obviously catch it, but it almost looked like the car actually rotated a bit later on through the corner. So again, I'm guessing that could be potentially, we have obviously the different, you've had the McLaren mid-engine rear drive, obviously with the Corvette front engine rear drive. So again, obviously different way the weight is distributed. But yeah, that was a big shame for Tucker. It was really weird seeing a GT3 car become what essentially is the 720 road car. It's a little bit weird looking at all the big diffusers on the back and everything. But yeah, very unfortunate through him, and obviously to the other guys as well, who the other people as well who got caught up. At the moment, though, Jenson Button in P6, and he is just behind. That is Christian Kelly, who has made some big moves at the moment. Currently running in the top 5. Bit of a gap though, as we can see that. But looking at it as well, Bobby Trundley currently in P4. He's only 6 tenths off Joonas Raivio.
Yeah, it was actually the Mercedes that got that was involved in that. That was Ben Brown, who's just exited the pits just a second ago, I do remember that you actually used to work for McLaren, didn't you, as well?
I did indeed. Yes, I did indeed. Worked there for
a jack of all trades.
worked there for 5.5 years. No, great fun. So yeah, we actually saw all of the 720s being built as well as the 650s. No, great car to build. Really good fun to be a part of. But at the moment we have here, that is David Simon. Whoa, that was a big moment there. And that was Cammy Sturridge, unfortunately, that was very close indeed. Getting involved, I believe that was that Jack Nicholls in the 650S? I think it was.
Yeah, that was. And Jack Nicholls just had Haytham Abdul-Qadir in the 99 Aston Martin going around the outside, going down the main straightaway. And you can now see that Nicholls going one way, then the other, taking the curb on the left-hand side to rotate the 650S through. And just behind, you've got Sandro Ballesteros. So, it is a case of knowing when you're going to try and put that move through, as Abdul-Qadir gets very close to the wall on the left-hand side, going through Hutt Street. And then Nicholls gets a really good run, and for Jenson Button, and the system software from rFactor 2 has given Jenson Button a penalty.
Oh dear, that looked to be going through. I believe that was in the heavy brakes, so going through turn 10. I think we've just been told as well from Michael that his car. I mean, to be fair, you could see that he was very slow going through. And actually sort of very slow to get going again. So his car, I believe, is unfortunately out of the race. A bit of a shame from there. We may get the replay indeed, which we'll see in a second. But Jack Nicholls currently has got his composure back, and he is now on his way. But yeah, here is a replay of, again, just clips the wall. Pretty much. Do you know what? I reckon, Alex, that was a similar thing to what Andy Tucker did. Do you reckon he clipped the wall of the inside, and then it looked like he just bounced the car and just put it through? So that a big shame there from Jenson Button. But again, like I said, it's just, there's no margin for error, is there?
He's in the pits already. We've got just under 10 minutes to go until the pit stop window opens. Yeah, it was pretty much a copycat situation through no fault of Jenson's there at all. So literally went full commitment around 220 kilometres an hour in fifth gear through turn 8. It looked like it was just the slightest nudge. As now we see Matt Richards coming under fire from Jan van der Heyde in the number 96. And van der Heyde is not too far. And Jack Nicholls, he's also lost a rear wing. So a third casualty in the first, and that car is heavily damaged. And I would imagine you can just see it's crabbing everywhere. The right front took an absolute wallop just then. So Tucker, Nicholls and Button. Button has DNF'd. Grant Lyman has also DNF'd. I've got a feeling that we're going to have another DNF in a moment's time, and that is unfortunately going to be Jack Nicholls. You can see he's trying to get that car back to the pits, and he's not too far away from there. So even if he gets to the end of this race, he classifies in the top after 75% of the race time itself, when 45 minutes are completed. When it hits 45 minutes and a second, he will still score points. So you can just see he's got it into the pit lane on his very best efforts, and let's see if Jack can get back out on circuit and try and push up the order. But in the meantime, Jan van der Heyde is closing, and he's lapping just under a tenth quicker than Matt Richards. But look out for Joonas Raivio. He's out to get that championship lead back, and he's a further 1.5 seconds, make that 1.2 seconds adrift of van der Heyde, as now they're coming up to back marker traffic. This is where it's going to really make all the difference here, and that looks to be Ben Brown in the number 22. This is going to be rather interesting now, as Bradley Brockies is up into P11 and he's battling away. Now this is, interestingly enough, for the AM class lead, and he's got Luke Mitchell, younger brother of Scott Mitchell, who's currently in P7 behind Alex Buncombe. That's for 11th and 12th, and that's for the AM class lead. But watch out, David Simon. He's been on an absolute mission, has David. He started all the way down the order, round towards about, I think, we've had it where drivers have had to keep their nose clean, and David Simon, he started in 20th position, and he's now up 7 places so far. So good driving from the 64 from Team Fordzilla 2 at this moment.
Indeed, he is, as you say, he's making moves at the moment and ever closing, especially at the moment. If you've got Bradley Brockies and Luke Mitchell, if they keep battling, they have been battling a bit, although I don't know how much. Oh, that was a little bit wide there. I think Luke Mitchell outbraked himself, wasn't realising potentially carrying a bit more overspeed, obviously, because he is carrying, he's sitting behind or just behind Bradley Brockies, so he is going to be carrying more speed, so potentially got a little bit caught out there by the overspeed that he was carrying through into the braking zone, the heaviest braking zone on the circuit. But the gap is now extended a little bit just because of that. But yeah, again, look at David Simon. The gap was, although I said the gap was about sort of anywhere between 4/10 and 7/10 of a second over the course of a lap. So we're going to have to watch out and see if that comes down and if David Simon's going to put some pressure on Luke Mitchell. I wouldn't like to be that cameraman, to be fair, if I'm honest with you. But yeah, Bradley Brockies, as you say, still leading the AM class at the moment. And P11 overall, a very, very respectable drive at the moment indeed. But that is, I believe, that looks to be Sebastian Prio. That is currently in P10. I don't know if he's actually... these guys caught him up. Is he nursing damage potentially?
Yeah, Sebastian last time ran well. Sidorvaya had a 1 minute 24.5, and then Sebastian Prio, who's 8 seconds behind him, now is coming under fire from Bradley Brockies from eTeam BRIT. So Brockies, currently in the standings, is not that far off of... he's about, 7 points off of the lead. And if things were to finish as they stand now, he will retake the standings lead in the AM category, having initially started off on the right foot at Silverstone for the season opener here at the eTeam BRIT GT Challenge. But then Ben Brown came back, firing back at him into Lagos, and then it was Stuart Ross French that won at Hockenheim before Ben Brown won at Mount Panorama. As you can see, just a lot of drivers now. You've got the battle for 18th position. This is between Chris Wilson from Camsport Ice, Max Spooner in the Racing with Autism International car, and then Dan Blake, who started way down the order. He's ahead of King's Dealer Racing's Ed Straw, who looks to have, well, that's one of the King's Racing cars. That possibly could be Jack Nichols behind them. He is effectively a lap down off of them at the moment. So great scrap here. Really good to see the drivers getting their elbows out as Spooner trying to go audaciously round towards the outside of Chris Wilson to get the cutback, but Dan Blake just waiting and biding his time.
That's all he needs to do at this point. All he needs to do, play the long game. He just needs to sit there, let the race come to him and let the race happen, because at the end of the day, there's going to be a moment, there's going to be a position where he's going to be able to capitalise on it. He just needs to be patient at that moment to then capitalise. As I say that was potentially going to be a movement there. And that was, yes, that was, excuse me, the McLaren 720S getting very, very out of shape going through before the back straight. I think this is where potentially the Radical loses out a little bit. It's not got the straight line speed, I don't think, of the McLaren or the Bentley, but it looks to be very good on the brake. As I said that, though, that was David Wilson going a little bit wide, going through again into the braking zone of turn 10. Being caught up, though, by, that was, I believe, who had the little moment there? Was that Stuart Ross French in the 7?
No, Stuart's in the Red Shell Racing McLaren, and he's way up the road from this. He's currently in P13 at the moment, and he's only 0.8 of a second behind David Simon, because Bradley Brockies has dropped all the way. He's dropped out of the lead of the AM class. He's down currently in P15. He had a 1 minute 27.7. So there are sections on this circuit where the drivers are being caught out, but Brocky's back up to speed rather quickly. However, Cammy Sturch is right behind in the number 5 Team Fordzilla AM class Radical. As you can see, everyone's bumping over the curbs with proper abandon here at Adelaide. And you can just see some of the hashtags up at the top there. Aidan Millwater saying, "Where is Jenson Button?" Unfortunately, Aidan, he retired on lap number 8 due to damage as a result of a moment at turn 8. And you can just see that Ed Straw giving Dan Blake a little tap from behind, letting him know he's there. And we're going to see a replay now. This is what happened. Oh, the chicane caught out Bradley Brockies. Oh, and put him in the wall, and that allowed Luke Mitchell, David Simon, Stuart Ross French to get past. So that chicane really has caught out quite a few people over the last few, we're now on to lap number 15 of this race. There's still plenty of time for more drama. I feel it. I really do feel that sort of hunch that it might happen, as Alex Buncombe still closing up on Christian Kelly, and Buncombe not yet having the opportunity that he needs to get past the Mercedes.
Well, exactly. He's just again. I think Al's just biding his time. I mean, look how close he is. I mean, the two cars have become one pretty much at this point, and I don't think the gap is going to get any bigger anytime soon. But Alex Buncombe, again, like I said, Paisley Wetting had a bit of a look going into. He's just putting his nose there. He was never going to make the move, but he was just putting his car in a position to potentially upset Christian Kelly. And to be fair, he may have just done it. He did get a little bit, again, just putting his car absolutely everywhere to try and upset Christian Kelly in that Mercedes. But too wide going through. This is never going to work, chaps. I'm not too sure what's going to happen here. I believe that is actually, that was Matt Richards just lapping. I'm not entirely sure who that was
Andy
out
Tucker.
on track.
Yeah.
That was Andy Tucker. So he has got his car going in. Fair play. He's got his car repaired and off he goes. But yeah, a little bit of a hold up. Only a small one, but look at the gap now. I mean, you've got Matt Richards and Jan van der Heyde, apologies, Jan van der Heyde. Currently, again, like I said, the gap is 2/3 of a second. We're already a third into this race. I'm not too sure what's going to happen at the moment. And then we've got Alex Buncombe in the bottom right corner of your screen again. Still can't quite find a way past Christian Kelly, although I say that, he was getting very, very close there indeed. Like I said, these cars have been conjoined pretty much for the entire lap that we have seen them. Although the gap's extended a little bit. Like I said, I think Alex is just biding his time here at the moment. He goes up so much in the braking zones as well. That's the staggering thing, is how much he can close up in those braking zones.
Right, 40 minutes on the clock, still to go. Pit stop window now officially open here at Adelaide as Alex Buncombe, that was close, and then some through the chicane. So the race control will have to keep an eye on what's going on there as Buncombe tries to plant it around the outside through into Wakefield Corner, into East Terrace, into the left-hander that puts them down Flinders Street before the double right at Hutt Street. So Buncombe really now starting to put the pressure on. He knows that he will try and hustle at Chevrolet Corvette, the Callaway Corvette, as hard as humanly possible, as Matt Richards really coming under fire from Jan van der Heyde in the first few moments of the race. And we have got our first pit stop of the eve. Well, we've got a couple of them, Sean King and Sebastian Priaulx in the pits. And now that was a bit of a moment there. That was Alex Buncombe, and he's just gone 360 just after turn 8. So the curse of that corner strikes once again as more drivers now coming into the pits. Max Spooner has now ended up into the pit lane, so they've got just 18 minutes and 50 seconds still to go, and that is Jack Nicholls off of the chicane. Is that car going to be another DNF? That is, it's confirmed. Straight away, the car was badly damaged, so that would have been suspension more than likely. But the way that chicane is, Dan, that is definitely one that does not give any quarter whatsoever if you go across it the wrong way.
No, absolutely. I mean, you saw that with Bradley Brockes. It is just that one moment, and it just puts you in the way, and that's just end of race. There's no real coming back from that. It's one of the ones, if you can survive an incident at the chicane or going through somewhere like here, of turn 9, then that's time to do the lottery, as far as I'm concerned. Because it's a very, very, very highly likely that is going to be the end of your race. Just looking at the gap now between Matt Richards and Jan van der Heyde. And it's gone up a little bit. It's about half a second. I'm not entirely sure whether Jan van der Heyde is he currently at the moment sort of potentially biding his time here, and again just seeing, sort of trying to put Matt Richards under as much pressure as he can. And that was just, I mean, it almost looked like he lost the back end. I mean, Tokyo Drift at the moment, although unfortunately doesn't quite manage to save it. But do you know what? I don't think he actually returned that much damage. So maybe it is time for Al to do the lottery at today's. Because, fair play. He seems to be going. I'm actually looking at the timing screens as well. So he's dropped back. I mean, he's dropped back all the way to P15, unfortunately. But I believe he has indeed pitted. Yeah. He seems to be going. So potentially again, we've seen the pace that he has. So I'm sure that he's going to be making some moves in the later stage of the race. We're only a third of the way though, just over a third of the way through this race. So a lot more can happen. But yeah, Alex, I don't know. Is Van der Heyde, is he currently just sort of sitting there and really just playing the cards and trying to push Alex? As I say that, I mean, that was Touchwood commentator's curse, nearly kicking in there. I was just about to say that, is he putting Matt Richards under a bit of pressure? And that was the best save this race so far, around turn 9.
Well, when you look at it this way, Jan van der Heyde, he did not take part in round 2. He was otherwise engaged in other races that evening. But he has got an opportunity, as now Matt Richards has now put it into the pit. So this is where Jan van der Heyde really needs to push that car to the absolute limit. He's been running in the 117s. He's now just put in a 118.5, so now he's got to really put down the hammer in that Callaway Corvette C7R. You can just see how committed the number 96 from Zansho Simsport is. He is currently, in terms of the pro standings, he's currently P3, and this is the 922 of Ed Straw. Oh, tagging the barrier, so Ed Straw, and he's also DNF'd. Sebastian Priaulx, I've just seen, has DNF'd as well. So we have this has not become a race of interesting developments. This is a race of survival. It's become an attrition race right now, because we've got already, Grant Lyman has confirmed that he disconnected and wasn't able to get back into the server. So out of the 29 cars, we are down to 23, and we're about 5.5 minutes away from the halfway point. So you look at it, Nicky Hayes, Grant Lyman, Jenson Button, Jack Nichols, Sebastian Priaulx, Ed Straw, they have all DNF'd, and that really has changed the dynamic of this race. Also at the top end of this, Jan van der Heyde is now leading from Bobby Trundley, who is 11.1 seconds behind. The gap is closing between the pair in many respects. As van der Heyde now pits, Trundley becomes the de facto leader. That will put Christian Kelly and more than likely Scott Mitchell into the top 3. And this is where your strategy really comes into play, as Jan van der Heyde has served over half of his mandatory 30-second pit stop. It's now hit over 20 seconds as that was drama again. That's Andy Tucker, and he's had another mare at the moment. Unfortunately, the rear wing again has gone on the number 67 McLaren, with Trundley in the 68, just trying to keep it nice and planted with 34 minutes and 20 seconds still to go. So there is a yellow out in sector 1 as Trundley just trying to make his way around the circuit through into turn 8. Let's have a look at this replay here. This is Sebastian Priaulx. Oh, and he's going through turn 8. Oh, wallops the curb, the front end. Bang. That is not what you want. That is massive front end damage. That was terminal for Sebastian Priaulx there.
That was unfortunate. Although, ironically, it's one of the ones the car doesn't actually look that damage, but obviously probably suspension damage, steering damage. That is, unfortunately, game over for Sebastian Priaulx. Again, it's such an infamous corner, and it is one that, again, is very unfortunate and not forgiving in the slightest. But yeah, as you say, Alex, we have Bobby Trundley currently inherits and still is in the lead of this race of round 5 of the eTeam BRIT GT Challenge, and he's doing a very stellar job indeed. The gap is currently 5.6 seconds. It's about between 6 and anywhere between sort of 5 and 6 seconds, depending on the course of the lap, I think, between Bobby Trundley and Christian Kelly. So I'm just thinking as well is you just saw Christian Kelly in the back, a shot there, come in to, that was turn 4, I believe. Yeah, these guys, the gap looks big now, and to be fair, the gap does look quite large at the moment. That is not to say that won't be the case as we're just kicking off. We're just getting back to about 30 minutes into the race, so halfway through. But yeah, the gaps at the moment do not necessarily correlate going to be at the end, because as we have seen, Alex, anything can happen. And like I said, we're only halfway through.
Yeah, so Stuart Ross French has pitted, just keeping an eye on the gap between Matt Richards and Jan van der Heyde. And at this particular juncture, you're looking at around about 5 seconds gap between the number 1 and the number 96. They're both running consecutively in 5th and 7th position, as Martin Buchan rounding out the top 4 at the moment. He's got a couple of cars in front of him at the minute. As now that was definitely that was I think possibly Dan Heyde that went up the inside of one of the King's racing cars, and that will still be Scott Mitchell. So you can see now. Here's a replay here. Now this is Andy Tucker, and this is going. That was coming through into the sort of like the right-hander that leads you into the pits, the pit lane, and Tucker has lost the rear wing. So Martin Buchan and Scott Mitchell now effectively are battling for what is, at this particular moment in time here, Dan, third place. Half a second separates them. But I think what we saw there, I think that was Daniel Heyde in the number 2 there, that I think got a little bit in the way, to be honest with you, because these two are battling over position. And it's always down to, if you're being lapped by other drivers and they've got a battle, if you're the one that's being lapped, you're the one that's got to make sure that you're getting out of the way, then it's also the responsibility of the other 2 drivers to get past safely.
Yeah, absolutely. I always find it, it's a bit of a sort of 50-50. To be fair, mainly the sort of like when you are trying to lap, if you are trying to lap cars, I mean, the main thing, to be fair, is if they, as we see, that is Scott Mitchell that darts into the pits. A very late pit entry there. So obviously Martin Buchan now inherits P3 from Scott Mitchell. As you will see, currently it's just changed on the screen at the bottom. We've got another replay here. I'm not entirely sure who this is, and this is the number. I'm just trying to think. I couldn't see who that quite was. That was Dan Heyde, actually. So yeah, this is going ever so slightly wide, going to the last corner, and again just cuts down in the path of. Is that Alex Buncombe that he cuts in the path?
No, Joonas Raivio. Yeah, I think that was Joonas Raivio. I noticed 69 on the side of the car. So yeah, I think it's just if you're taking a wide line and you've got a car coming up on your inside on your 3, you've really got to sort of just watch it and just make sure that you're keeping to that side, as we're now halfway through the race, and we've got just under 10 minutes to go in the pit stop window. And at the moment, the drivers that have yet to pit are Trundley, Kelly, Buchan, who's on your screen at the moment, and you've also got Luke Mitchell, Sandro Ballesteros, Bradley Brockies, Cammy Sturch and David Simon are all in the pits. Stuart Ross French I've got showing, and Daniel Heyde also haven't pitted yet, but we still have 23 drivers. Our leader at the moment, Bobby Trundley, currently on lap number 25. I think I think Von der Heide got jumped in the pit stop phase by Joonas Raivio. So Raivio, look how close he is. Raivio is only a second behind Matt Richards. So Joonas Raivio looking to get his way back, as we've just seen that the penalty has been issued to Cammy Sturch on that particular occasion, and that was Joonas Raivio trying to get past Dan Heyde, and because what he's trying to do is trying to get past Matt Richards. He's trying to close up on Matt Richards, and this is where it's going to really make all the difference in the last, as I said, 10 to 15 minutes of this race. How long are Trundley, Kelly, how long are they going to go into this race? Because we've had it before in Season 1 and Season 2, where people have jumped at the first opportunity to get into the pits, or they've left it, like, say, the Season 1 owner, Donington Park, for instance. Max Spooner got in there with literally 2 seconds to spare. And you now see David Simon. He is currently sitting in what is P3 in AM. He's done a fantastic job so far. He's kept his nose clean. He's done his mandatory pit stop. He's just making sure that he doesn't let the radical step out of line. And that's what all the drivers have to do here. You might have to go that little bit slower on a lap time, but if you're consistent, you work hard at it, you keep going, it all works out in the end, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And again, it's consistency. Consistency is key. It's one of the main things that you always need. It's like I said, the pace over one lap is great, but being able to consistently do that every single lap, that is the most important thing. We're just being informed as well that the person fastest on track, I believe at the moment, is as we've just turned to, is Alex Buncombe, who is on screen now in P6. So he is making moves again, as we have seen. he is a man on a mission. He's obviously trying to make up for lost time, where he did have that small incident when he did a very nice pirouette going through turn 9. So yes, he is really moving through the field. And you just said as well, the last lap we've just been told was a 1:17.8, although as well, I'm looking, that is Jan van der Heyde. He has got a 1:17.7, and he's just gone purple in his second sector. So he is absolutely on a stormer of a lap at the moment, obviously trying to make up for lost time, where he did lose out in the pits to Joonas Raivio. So yeah, I mean, these guys are, even though the small instances, look at Alex Buncombe again, there is just, even you can tell and you can see it in the way that he took going through turn 9 then. He is incident completely behind him, and he is still going through that absolutely flat chat at 110%.
Yeah, he's got the fastest lap of the race at the moment, 1:17.484. Bobby Trundley has now pitted, and you can now see that Joonas Raivio rounds out the top 3. Christian Kelly leads, but is yet to pit. And he will be probably, him and Stuart Ross French are the last 2 drivers still to pit, as Kelly goes bumping over the curbs there. So Kelly leads from Richards, Raivio, van der Heyde, Buncombe, Trundley, Mitchell, Buchan, Stuart Ross French and Sidorvaya rounding out the top 10. We haven't seen much from Sidorvaya, obviously, because he's had a bit of a fight back on his hands. Luke Mitchell rejoins in 12th position ahead of David Simon. Cammy Search in 13th ahead of Max Spooner. Now Spooner started all the way down in 25th position, and he has already done a pit stop, and he's running in the 1:20.6 at the moment. As Sidorvaya has that is the was that Raivio that just passed him out on circuit, I believe, going through the final corner. So there are drivers that are really hustling these cars through. As you can just see, that cameraman angle, that's very much a brace yourself camera angle. As Dan said, I wouldn't like to be the cameraman on that one. It probably would just be a figurative GoPro there, to be completely honest. But with just under 5 minutes to go until the pit stop window officially closes, Christian Kelly has pitted, so Matt Richards retakes the lead on lap number 28 here at Adelaide, where we head to Monza in just a week's time. But look, Richards is being closed in on. Oh my goodness me, it's all kicking off, because look who's closing on Matt Richards. Cooey, it's Joonas Raivio.
I know this battle is going to get ever closer. I mean, to be fair as well, you look at the, we've got 25 minutes left, and currently the gap is, well, at that moment in time, as I said that, it was 0.4 of a second. And we've still got 24 minutes left to go. This is going to be very, very close indeed. And at the moment, I don't know, again, potentially, could we have now, is there going to be a position, whoa, that was very, very close indeed by Sido there. That was a very, very close move. That could have gone very badly indeed, but he manages to just about avoid the rear end of Matt Richards' Callaway Corvette as they go through the chicane. Look how much curb, or how little curb, I should say, that Sidorvaya was taking that, as opposed to Matt Richards. Matt Richards was really exploring the edge of the track limits at the moment, trying to get as much, I suppose, as much of an advantage as he possibly can. And the gap has extended because of it. I think looking at the actual, I'd probably say looking at it on track, I think the gap has extended, although as I say that, it's now closed back up. So it's just back and forth. It's almost like a yo-yo between these two at the moment. And like I said, there's no more pit stops. This is it. This is the battle for the lead. And there are no more pit stops to get in the way. Yeah, and how these guys are getting this close to the wall, I don't know. It always looks like they're just going to, it almost looks like they're brushing the wall. And how they've got wing mirrors left, I don't really know.
Well, I'm going to give you a little bit of news that is going to really start getting you excited now for all the right reasons. Jan van der Heyde is only a second behind 1.5 seconds behind Joonas Raivio, and he is closing. He's been running in the 1:18.5s. Now, I've been doing some calculations. If it absolutely kicks off and van der Heyde gets another victory, that will put him on 90 points. If Raivio is second, that puts him on 94. If Matt Richards even secures third, the top 3 in the Pro Championship will go to the next round at Monza, followed by just 7 points. That's how really, really close it is going to be. And if I'm completely honest with you, I don't know what to expect over the next 20 or so minutes, because this is just absolutely mouth-watering. 22 minutes and 15 seconds still to go. We've got a yellow in Sector 2, and we still have 23 drivers racing at the moment. Dan Heyde, I've noticed, has got... Amy Roberts has just asked, has Stuart Ross French pitted? No, he's done the long haul. He's got just under 2 minutes to do so, according to my timing screen. He's still got to pit. So I'm just wondering where he is at the moment. And he's currently most of the way around the circuit, so he should hopefully be pitting in around about the next 30 or so seconds. He's just gone through sectors 1 and 2. So yeah, we'll see how that happens. And now I've just seen on the timing screen that there has been a DNF showing against Alex Bunkum's name. I'm not too sure if Alex has had a disconnect, possibly, because that has played a couple of people. That will have played Nicky Hayes, that have played Grant Lyman as well. So now we are down to 22 drivers, and we are 60 seconds away from the pit stop window happening, being closed. So my biggest crux is, has the 27 pitted yet? Because that says to me I've just seen that, because he's had to get out of the way of traffic. So he's gone. I think he's gone on another lap there.
So potentially then, he might not be able to get back in the pits. Well, it's going to be very, very close if he does. We've got a replay here. And again, I believe this is Daniel Heyde we're going through. Because I saw on the track map, yes, and that would be what? Oh, that was very, very close. Who did he collect there?
That's Alex Bunkum.
That was Alex Bunkum. So that would be the reason why Alex has retired, as we've just been told as well. He was minus a wheel. So it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter how good of a driver you are. Unfortunately, you cannot get a car round with three wheels, not at any pace anyway. So yeah, bit of a shame there. So that would be the explanation as to why we are seeing Alex Bunkum currently, or as a DNF. Look at the gap, though. The gap between Matt Richards and Joonas Raivio has actually gone up a little bit, 0.6 of a second. I was actually concerned. Well, I say concerned, actually. I was getting quite excited because the gap between Joonas Raivio and Jan van der Heyde had actually come down almost to about half a second. It's since then gone up. Again, there is just so much that can happen. We've got another replay here. This is the replay. That was the replay from Alex Bunkum. Again, another pirouette, this time in an anti-clockwise fashion. And yeah, that's Alex Bunkum's day has gone from bad to worse, unfortunately. Yeah, so the wheel, as you can see, is missing from the rear left. So that is a car will not be continuing, unfortunately. Bit of a shame there. Like I said, because I think Alex was a bit of a passenger. Obviously, you go around the corner, you go around turn 9, you're pretty much blind up until you sort of see the exit. So yeah, you're blind to about midpoint of the corner. At that point, you're carrying so much speed, you're committed by that point. So there's nothing really that could have happened, and I don't think there's anything that he could have done to prevent that. So yeah, bit of a shame. But at the moment, battle for P1 is still raging on. A little bit wide there for Raivio there, and that's allowed. Look at Jan van der Heyde. He has caught up, and the gap is now 0.4 of a second between the top three, respectively.
Yeah, so it's now just under a second between the top three at the moment. This is going to get rather spicy here in southern Australia, here at the Adelaide Street Circuit, for the continuing coverage of round 5 of season 2 of the eTeam BRIT GT Challenge. And we're now going to go to a replay, and this is one of the eTeam BRIT cars hustling their way through. Oh, and that definitely went skyward. I'm not too sure who that was. Well, that says the number 19 of Sandro Ballesteros.
Oh.
But I'm not too sure. I'm just having a look at the times, and that looks to be the case. It was Sandro Ballesteros that had that moment, I believe, as Joonas Raivio now coming under salvo fire. The warning shot has been fired by Jan van der Heyde from Zansho Simsport. The 3 running line astern. A loss of momentum, big time there for Jan van der Heyde. He's got to start winding that wick up again and start from square zero.
I know, it's a big shame. We just see he just clipped the barrier, just clipped the tyre barrier on the outside. Looking at it, he doesn't look like he's got any steering damage. Car looks to be okay. and he seems to be on his way again. But yeah, that was, I mean, again, you look at the margin that these guys are running with, it's so close. And even a small mistake like that, just skipping that tyre barrier, it loses you 10, 15 Ks. And, it drops half a second. So like you said, Jan van der Heyde, he's got to do all of that again. However, I think he's got the confidence. He knows that he's got the pace, and he looked at the pace beforehand. He is a man on a mission. So I'm sure that pace will come down at the moment. But we've got Martin Buchan. Currently, this is Scott Mitchell. So this is the battle for P5, as we've got McLaren 650S versus McLaren 720. This is Old Dog currently as well. Currently Old Dog in the lead at the moment with the 650 still holding its own against the 720 of Martin Buchan. It's quite nice actually to see a 650 and see the 650 still being used. Because obviously most of the time now with everything there, the 720 is the preferred car of choice. But it's really nice to see the 650 still being used in these sort of series. It's very, very good indeed. Got a soft spot for the old 650. Yeah, at the moment, gap has dropped back a little bit. No, Martin Buchan, he's just lost out a little bit of time, although does gain it back quite quickly. I'm interested to see, though, as well. It's been a bit difficult for me to sort of see, especially on the timings, but I wonder where sort of different cars sort of are preferred, I suppose. Obviously, you got first half of the race compared to first half of the lap compared to second half. Like, what is sort of, if anyone actually knows in the chat, can they let me know? Because I'm intrigued to see sort of what performs better at what different section of the circuit. But at the moment, Martin Buchan is going to try and go around the outside going into turn 10. That's never going to work in a million years because Martin does get squeezed out. But that now leaves the door open for, look at Christian Kelly. He is lapping all this up. He is sitting there going, you crack on, guys. I'm just going to pick up the pieces if there are any. So yeah, he's sort of playing the long game here. Only 15 minutes left. But at the moment, I think, yeah, the more and more that Martin Buchan and Scott Mitchell battle, yeah, Christian Kelly's going to sit there and he's just being dragged along. And enjoying the view.
Yeah, I think just been having a look through the actual timing itself here, as you were alluding to, Dan, that the 650 is actually a little bit slower in Sector 2. Scott Mitchell did a 25.0, and Martin Buchan did a 24.7 in Sector 2, along with Christian Kelly. Now, when you look at it from that perspective, the McLaren and the Mercedes had a little bit of aerodynamic assistance coming through Hutt Street into Bartels Road and then into Turn 8 and Brabham Straight, which is where the two cars will really, and Kelly will effectively get a double toe, but you can still see that Scott Mitchell is keeping his cards close to his chest. He's not giving much away. He's just hitting the apex points. He's making sure the car's rotated in nice and neatly, and to just have that opportunity to keep, what could be a very, very good score this time around, and that would net him, in the current line of things, that would net him another 11 points after this round. And he finished sixth in the points after Mount Panorama last time out 3 weeks ago. So it's been a really good, consistent run for Scott Mitchell thus far, and still. Buchan's not letting him breathe. He's just like going, well, you keep on hitting your apexes, Scott. I'll just try and catch you out when I get that opportunity. And Mitchell's not making it easy for him whatsoever.
Well, this is the thing. Like, if you look at Martin Buchan's point of view, I mean, you've got to sit there, and as much as you obviously need to put pressure on, at the same time, in this stage of the race, especially when you've got Christian Kelly behind, again, play the long game. There's only 13 minutes left, but obviously, Martin Buchan is currently the man that's got to really watch out for, because as much as he tries to make the move on, as we said, he's backed off. Has he got a potential? Did he have a track limit warning or something there that caused him to drop off? But he's just obviously opened the door, and Christian Kelly's just gone, thank you very much. So he is now going to try and catch up to Scott Mitchell. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Alex, you'll know better than me. I'm not too sure what the case was behind that.
Yeah, I'm just going to... The times... Well, Martin Buchan, that was a messy second sector. If he had a moment coming through Turn 8, then he would have known to have backed out of it, because, look at it this way, in comparison with Mitchell and Kelly, that was over a second and a half slower in Sector 2. So that really, from that aspect, that says to me that Buchan must have had a bit of a moment there going through into T8. I mean, it's not been the easiest of corners to negotiate for a lot of our drivers. And I think that he might have just felt a bit of a severe moment that he didn't really want to experience and decided to back out of it before anything else went south.
Well, fair enough. I mean, to be fair, potentially you could have had something where they were going to go potentially too wide, actually going through, or potentially try and go too wide through turn 9. So yeah, realistically, probably something you don't necessarily want to do. So maybe we see that, as you say, Martin Buchan playing his cards right there, and just backing off, allowing Christian Kelly to go through, resetting himself, and then going again. So a sensible move there, if that was the case. Look at the gap, though. At the moment, Jan van der Heyde, he's had a moment. He's dropped 8 seconds, is the gap. He was only half a second before last time we checked on this battle, and the battle for the three-way battle for the lead has now become a two-way battle for the lead. Although, again, that can change. If Matt Richards and Joonas Raivio, if they start battling, I imagine those 7 seconds of a gap, they're going to go down very, very quickly indeed. And it's amazing how much that gap can come down. You can just see Jan van der Heyde in the back of shot, just coming out. Oh, big sideways moment again from Matt Richards. Again, he's got to be careful. I don't know, again, not too sure about tyres for this particular round. Are they using up more of his tyres? Is it something that Matt Richards is using up a bit more of his tyres to try and keep that gap from Raivio at the moment? I'm not entirely sure. Be interesting to see. Obviously, we've only got 11 minutes remaining. Are we going to see a big drop off in tyres again? I'm not entirely sure. This is another one of the other things. Oh, that was a big moment there from Christian Kelly going to the inside of. I'm trying to think, that was one of the eTeam BRIT McLarens. Could that have been potentially a back market that was going through? And again, not entirely sure. We're just going to move back on to. So we're going Christian Kelly. So again, Christian Kelly currently in P6. So he is actually catching up, I think, with Scott Mitchell a bit, but Martin Buchan is also catching him up well. Okay, so I don't know if Martin Buchan is going to try and sit there and see if they can both catch up to Scott Mitchell, or if he's going to try and get by him and then catch up to Scott himself. With only 10 minutes to go, this is where you got to start. This is where your marathon starts turning into a bit of a sprint.
Yeah, very much the case. And things are changing in the championship standings from a virtual perspective, because with the current rate of things going, Matt Richards will extend his lead up to 12 points to Monza next Friday evening at 1900. And we will be opening the entry books for our penultimate round of the season, which will be at Imola, as we now are into the last 10 minutes of this race. Joonas Raivio will go to Monza on 94 points. Jan van der Heyde would go back to 81 points after all is said and done. But you can see that Raivio and Richards, they are not done yet. We've still got 9.5 minutes to go, and we are now effectively on to lap number 40 of the race.
I know. Well, to be fair, like you were saying, Alex, yes, I don't think this is going to be the longest 9 minutes and 19 seconds of both Matt Richards and Joonas Raivio's life, I think, here in terms of their racing career. And as we got there, that is Scott Mitchell losing out on a position 2. Oh no, that's gone badly wrong for Christian Kelly. That was, to be fair, I don't really, I don't think there are any words to really describe what I think yourself and me think of that, Alex, because that was I don't think there should be words to describe that at the moment. I'm sure that will be looked at post-race. Mm-hmm. Yeah, big shame there indeed. But obviously Scott Mitchell now takes back P5. Again, that small mistake just opened the door. Christian Kelly sort of pounced on it, as rightly so, as he would do. And not ideally what we want to see.
I think there was maybe what we call in the trade a bit of a push-to-pass manoeuvre there, I fear. But obviously there is a protest procedure that we have here at eTeam BRIT, which will be followed. I know for a fact that Christian Kelly will basically say his side of the story, and then race direction will look into it. Obviously, every single result this evening is provisional, pending any stewards' inquiries by our race directors post-race. So you can see here that Scott Mitchell currently showing in 5th position, ahead of Martin Buchan. Now I'm wondering if Martin might have a better opportunity to get a run on Scott this time. And the reason why I say this, because when Scott went for that move and turned Christian around, effectively he might have damaged that 650S. So that means that Martin Buchan knows that if Scott Mitchell is driving a car that is a bit like a slightly wounded animal at the moment, to coin a phrase, Buchan will have the run on him and will get past.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, so it's for what we had about 10 or so laps ago, the role reversed now. Actually, no, sorry, I'm going to take that back completely. That was it. This is the same position that we had before, 650S versus 720S. But yeah, I think, like you said, potentially, I don't think, looking at the pace and looking at the sector times, I don't think Scott Mitchell has got too much damage, if any. But at the same time, that has knocked his confidence back, I'm sure. Martin Buchan, though, can't quite seem to catch up probably as quickly as I think he would have liked. So it's more so really about how Scott Mitchell can sort of regain his composure and then come back, and also how fast Martin Buchan can get on the back and make that move stick. But he's just got to put him under as much pressure as he can. Bit of four-wheel sliding there from Scott Mitchell. Again, not too sure about tyres. Are they starting to go off for these drivers? I don't know. I don't know what the cliff is on these tyres either. So we've got 6.5 minutes left of running to go. Yeah, the battle for P5 still indeed rages on. Just looking through the field as well. Just looking at Matt Richards as well. He's still leading by about 0.6 of a second. I don't know if is Joonas Raivio, is he going to try and make the move? Is he actually going to try or is he going to settle for P2? I to be fair, I doubt that he is. But at the moment, looking at the times, the gap is now just extended to 1.1 seconds. I don't know if he's actually going to have an opportunity.
Well, the thing is that we still have the double points round at Le Mans to end the 8-round calendar, and that will take place on March 5th. As you can see now, we go back to two leaders, Matt Richards and Joonas Raivio. So Rocket eSports, they, as a result of this, they'll get a maximum score of 45 points, so that will put them on 190 provisionally post-race. You can just, I think at the end of it all, it is dependent on the key rule here. Any driver will be, any driver worth their salt will be told the one rule in racing is never take out your teammate. And Joonas will not want to chance that, because if that does happen, he's the one that's straight in the firing line. Then the gloves will be truly off. So you want to make sure that you get yourself in as much contention as possible. I have been handed confirmation by our race directors about everyone has pitted. So even though Stuart Ross French is showing up as not having pitted, he still has pitted. So as far as we're aware, everyone has served their mandatory 30-second pit stop as required. As you can now see that Martin Buchan now is decided. You can tell by the way he's driving this car, Dan. He is now he's telegraphing what he might. Oh, nearly loses the back end of the 720. Nearly a commentator's curse for me this evening. But you can just see how hard he's hustling that 720S GT3. He's not going to give up on this. He's not going to give up on it at all.
No, absolutely. And to be fair, he's obviously well within his right to carry on, try and make that move stick. But yeah, he's just putting his car in a position. Again, both of the cars four-wheel sliding, but I think he seems to have been carrying a bit more overspeed again. We've actually got Scott Mitchell going to a defensive line. I mean, to be fair, and that's obviously not opened the door, but that's allowed Martin Buchan to catch up. He's going to try and go around the outside. He's going to think twice of it. Scott Mitchell is still going for the defensive line. I don't know, to be honest. I probably wouldn't have gone defensive that early going into turn 2. He just wasn't close enough. There was never going to be a lunge up the inside. He was about 2 or 3 car lengths back. I think he was a little bit too close. So Scott Mitchell potentially being a little bit too cautious at this moment in time, and that's obviously allowed Martin Buchan to actually catch up. And now this is where it really starts to kick off. Actually, say Alex, because again, like I said, the closer that gap gets, now we're going to start seeing Martin Buchan really start to make some moves. Although it looks to be the 650S and Scott Mitchell seems to have a bit more pace through the first sector, because the gap starts to extend a little bit, and then through the last sector, that's where the 720S really starts to pick up. So I'm interested to see if this is going to be the case this lap as well, or interested to see if this is going to be the case. But I'm having a look at Martin Buchan. It's a bit closer this time around. Is there going to be a potential lunge going through into the infamous turn 10? We're going to find out in a second. The gap is very, very close. Is Scott Mitchell going to go defensive? If he did last lap, I would imagine he would do again this one, and he does. Tries to squeeze Martin Buchan out, can't quite do it. Is Martin Buchan going to get the cutback? He tries to. It's going to put him on the outside though for turn 11. That's not going to work. As we see there, well, that's very close indeed. bit of a deja vu there. We actually saw pretty much exactly the same last lap. So Scott Mitchell putting his car in exactly the right place it needs to be with 2 minutes and 19 seconds left to go. As you've got bottom right corner of your screen, Joonas Raivio, who is currently we're riding on board with the back of that Callaway Corvette. A little bit of traffic. How are they going to negotiate it? All okay from looks. So that's another thing as well, isn't it, Alex? You've got all the traffic to try and negotiate. As much as obviously it is up to everyone to make sure they overtake safely, potentially in some circumstances, you can't really help being sort of in the way a little bit, I suppose, depending on whether you are on track. Yeah,
I think Messrs Mitchell and Buchan, they nearly did the side-by-side that, as I was mentioning, Whincup and McLaughlin earlier on this evening. Big thank you to Amy Roberts for saying great coverage, guys. If you are watching on the Simply Race YouTube channel, don't forget to hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and also hit the notification bell of future events as all. Now, there is a moment that Matt Richards did not want. Look how close Joonas Raivio is, as Martin Buchan using that overspeed again in the 720S, and he gets nearly a bit tail happy. They are not giving up. They are absolutely pushing like crazy. Here at Adelaide, we've got just over 60 seconds still to go here at Adelaide, and the leaders at the moment are just about to, I think, go through. Are they? They're coming to the end of the Bradman Straight into Decaturville hairpin. So now this is going to be crunch time. I'm just wondering, are they going to, is Matt Richards going to slow? No, he can't afford to slow down Joonas Raivio. The thing is that after this, they're going to have one more lap to go. Going to come around the final corner to complete lap number 46 and go on to the 47th and final lap. Little bit of wheel spin rotation from the back end of Richards as he came out of Foster's corner and then into the centre chicane. They're going to just have to watch themselves here going through, and they both absolutely banzai their way over the curbs. And now the timer really getting close to zero here on the eTeam BRIT GT Challenge. Season 2, Round 5 here at Adelaide. We head to Autodromo Nazionale di Monza in just a week's time on the 5th of February, and that will be one of the fastest circuits on the calendar this season as the clock, it does strike zero as the two leaders now will head into turn 8 for the final time. Mitchell and Buchan still arguing like a pack of pesky little Yorkshire Terriers as they head their way through into the final corner. Richards still holding on as they go down the back straightaway for the final time into the deep braking zone. Richards turns the car in. Raivio has been close. This has been the closest he's been since round 3 at Hockenheim. But it is all said and done because Matt Richards will take his second victory of the season. The defending champion, Rocket eSports, Matt Richards, comes out of the final corner, puts on the Tokyo Drift and takes the victory by literally absolutely nothing. Half a second ahead of Joonas Raivio, and it is a line astern formation on the slowdown lap. Jan van der Heyde completes the top 3 and keeps the colours of Zansho Simsport flying high as Max Spooner goes grass tracking out of the final corner. Bobby Trundley having dramas at Mount Panorama. He came back with a vengeance. He started down in 8th position, and the number 68 Team BRIT driver will come across the line in just a moment or two, followed by teammate Andy Tucker, who will round out the top 20 overall. So Trundley comes round the final corner. It is a formation for the Team BRIT duo in their McLaren 720s. Trundley takes 4th place, and it is a run to the line, but Scott Mitchell provisionally has taken 5th by a fraction ahead of Martin Buchan. We just wait. So Sidovai will take 8th. Stuart Ross French for the second race for his second race this season takes a second victory. He took a win back at Hockenheim 2 rounds ago and puts himself into the championship standings. But wow, what a race. What a brilliant race there, Dan. We had absolutely I'm breathless.
You know what? That was definitely one of the closest races that I've seen. It was. I mean, like I said, we saw that from qualifying. You know, we saw it from qualifying how close it was going to be. It didn't disappoint. There were some amazing battles throughout the racing. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, Matt Richards, Joonas Raivio for Rocket eSports. I mean, again, a very good drive indeed. And like you said, as you say, it's taking maximum points again. So for the team standings, but more importantly, good for Matt Richards, currently still, and I believe he is still leading the championship. So, yeah, I mean, what a race! And if this is anything to go by, I mean, Monza's going to be exactly the same, and I can't wait. Whether I'm commentating or watching, I just can't wait. It's just going to be really, really good racing to watch indeed.
Well, just to give you an idea, ladies and gentlemen, how the standings provisionally look after round 5. Matt Richards takes a lead in the standings of, he's on 106 points ahead of Joonas Raivio. Jan van der Heyde is in third on 81 points. Looking at AM, Cami Sturch now becomes the new leader of the championship, despite having finished, I think it was in 4th place overall at the end of it. She's on 85 points. Ben Brown on 84. Bradley Brockey's 78. Stuart Ross French leaps up into P4 on 72. And we're going to have some new voices in the interview booth. But Dan, I'll be back with you in just a couple of minutes' time. I'm going to go down and have a chat with some drivers.
No problem at all.
Well, we get to the interview phase here at round 5 of the eTeam BRIT GT Challenge, and I must say, Matt Richards, another victory. First at Hockenheim, now here at Adelaide. It was a tricky race, wasn't
it? Incredibly tricky. I'd go to even say that was double the pressure that Bathurst was. Is not the nicest track to race around, so it was an hour of making sure that you didn't bin it in a wall and just trying to keep it steady.
But this gives you now a provisional 12-point lead over Joonas going into the next round at Monza. It's going to be a different challenge altogether, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, we're going from a track that's very, very difficult to overtake at to a track that relatively can be quite easy. So it's certainly going to be a different challenge. But the main thing that I wanted to do before then was build up enough of a gap so that even if I took a little bit of a points hit at Monza, that would still leave me ahead of Joonas. So yeah, just trying to bag as many points as possible, being as consistent as possible, and just keep that momentum up until the end.
Well done tonight, Matt. Congratulations on a second victory. We'll see you in Monza in a week's time.
Thank you very much.
Okay, right. Well, next up, I've got to speak to our resident Australian. He's done it again. Let's bring in Stuart Ross French. Stuart, buddy. I'm so glad that you've won on home soil. Well done tonight.
Cheers, thanks Alex. Yeah, I mean after Bathurst it was a little bit Bathurst didn't go well. I lost internet connection, so to make it up in Adelaide is just mega. Yeah, I'm absolutely stoked.
And now this really gets you into the the championship fight. It's gotten really close in Am. Cami Sturch has now taken the lead by a single point. Ben Brown's down in second. You then got Bradley Brockey's and then also Stuart Ross French. Yourself. You're 6 points behind Bradley. I mean, did you think in a million years coming into this championship that you would be in the top 4 provisionally going into the next round at Monza?
Mate, no. Honestly, no. I thought it would be like mid-pack at best. But yeah, after getting close at Hockenheim, getting that win, it's given me a bit of a jump to try and get more of the wins and jump up that championship. I'm definitely in a running, but it is mega close between Cammy and David. It's exciting. It's exciting stuff.
Well done tonight, mate. How are you looking forward to Monza next week? Because obviously with the delay that we've had, we've got to now do a double header effectively.
Well, yeah, we won't have much time to prepare for this one. Monza's not my biggest strength. I'm not a fan of that track. Blasphemy, I know, but I'm not a massive fan of Monza, so it'll be interesting for me. I'm not expecting to do too well there, but we'll see.
Well done tonight, buddy. Great job, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Okay, so we've now heard from Stuart Ross French, and we're now going to bring in our second place driver. Let's bring in King's Dealer Racing's number 77, Luke Mitchell. Luke, what can I say? Second race in, you've now got a P2 to your credit, and also Big Bro's got himself into the top 5 tonight. Fantastic job, well done.
Yeah, thank you. It was a good race actually. I had a bit of damage, so I lost, I think it was about 12 seconds compared to Scott's pit stop. So I think probably could have won.
Yeah, there's always that woulda, coulda, shoulda, but it was a difficult challenge here around at Adelaide, and obviously we saw from both yourself and Scott that the 650S seemed to be well suited in comparison with the 720. Did you? Where was it sort of really hooking up for you? Was it mainly in the sort of like the twisty stuff? Because on the straight line, we saw between Scott and Martin Buchan when they were battling away that the 720 had the top end speed, but then through the twisty stuff, the 650 seemed to respond.
Yeah, it was very quick through the first sector. Going onto the back straight, we always sort of struggled. That's where you want to sort of ghost up behind someone and then make a move into the hairpin, but we couldn't. But I don't know how the 720 handles because we haven't drove it, but Scott and Jack done the setup for the car and it just felt good all the way through.
Well done, Luke. You're looking forward to Monza next week?
Yeah, I can't wait. I weren't really looking forward to this one because in testing I've been awful, so I'm buzzing about this.
Well done tonight. Congratulations, and we'll see you next week at Monza.
Thank you very much.
Okay, big thank you to Luke there. We're going to bring in another new voice into the interview booth. So happy for this man. If we can, let's bring in David Simon. David, wow, P3. Well done, congratulations.
I needed a race like that.
I mean, obviously, coming in at Interlagos, you took a fifth, you took a fourth, and obviously you had the moments at Mount Panorama earlier on in the race. But then coming back with the P3, that gives you really, really good motivation going into Monza in a week's time, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. I cannot wait. I mean, today's race was amazing. Apart from when Brocky's decided to fly over the top of my head. It was a great race. Fantastic race.
And obviously, the Radical, we do know it does like going well in a straight line. Is that going to help you guys out at Monza on next Friday?
I definitely think so, yeah. I think the straight line speed's at our advantage here.
Well done tonight, David. Congratulations, and we'll see you in a week's time.
Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you.
Okay, looks like we've got time for one more interview. I'm going to let's bring Cammy Sturch in from Team Fordzilla. Well, Cammy, I know it's been a difficult race tonight. It's not been easy, but let me just tell you that you are provisionally our new championship standings leader in the AM class by a single point.
Let's turn up for the books. That was a difficult race. I'm just glad to get it over and done with.
Yeah, I think myself and Dan in the commentary box we're really sort of holding our breath, biting our nails. We didn't know what was going to happen, if something was going to happen or whatever. But no, still to have a really good race at the end of it all. You did a fantastic job, and now to go into Monza with it's a point in the lead of the championship, but to now be the championship leader going into the main part of the second half of the season, that must inspire you with a little bit of confidence.
Yeah. Especially as we're coming up some tracks where the Radical can really excel. Say Monza is a track that we've been looking forward to, as well as Le Mans Circuit de la Sarthe at the end of the season. They are circuits we're really looking forward to. This circuit, we were constantly in first gear, and the Radical has a turbo. So every time we got into second gear, we sort of bogged down with a bit of turbo lag, and it really hurt us.
Well, Cammy, I know it's fourth place, but hopefully let's see you get a win before the end of this season, before it's out. But well done tonight, and all the very best of luck for next week.
Thank you very much.
Right, so we heard from Matt Richards. We also heard from our top three in AM, and also our new championship leader in AM, Cammy Sturch. But Dan, just really interesting to hear that everyone's so glad that they've gotten this round out of the way. Some people surprised with their results, but going to Monza in a week's time, that's really got people excited, hasn't it?
Yeah, 100%. It's really, really good to see. I mean, I'm surprised. I'm surprised at Adelaide. I thought more people would be enjoying it. But whether that's obviously different perspective of actually of commentating on it versus racing it, I think is probably a difference in opinion there. But no, it was really, really good fun. Again, it was absolutely amazing. Great racing all around. And I'm sure the drivers can't wait for the next round to kick off. And to be fair, neither can I as well. So it's just fantastic.
Well, Dan, it's been a pleasure having you alongside me in the commentary box. Normal service will be resumed as David Christie returns back to us next week as we head from a land down under down to one of the meccas of modern-day motorsport, the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. A big thank you to you all for watching. A big thank you to Mike Yao, our broadcast director. A big thank you to all the competitors for taking part this evening. And a big thank you to you all at home for watching. Don't forget, we'll be back in just 7 days' time here on round 6 of season 2 of the eTeam BRIT GT Challenge. Take care, look after yourselves, and good night. See you in a week's time.